All right. Good morning, folks. Welcome to continuing coverage of the Virtual World Cup. My name is Will Anderson. I know that there's actually other streams going on right now with matches in progress. So this is a little different for us, splitting our audience to bring you more coverage. But I think it's the right call because all of these matchups are really, really exciting. It's been great Scrabble all weekend. So if you are interested in a match in progress, but without further ado, I will just say that over at twitch.tv/Lord Livgen, Jeremy Koo's channel, he has got a great matchup right now between Ireland and the Philippines. And let me just pop up the broadcast schedule. Broadcast schedule here. So you can see we're in the tail end of our second week of pool play of the Virtual World Cup. The structure of this event closely follows the Soccer World Cup, or football, I guess I should say, to our global audience here that doesn't think of it as soccer. So you can see Ireland versus the Philippines started about an hour ago. United Kingdom versus India is going to happen right here in just a few minutes. And then one more match this weekend between Nigeria and South Africa is going to round out the coverage. So let's take a look at how the results have broken down so far in week two. So you can see right off the bat some surprising results. Pakistan over Australia jumps out to me. I guess I shouldn't be surprised given that Pakistan is sort of on the warpath right now with just taking down all comers in online play. So Australia are one of the stronger teams in this tournament. So Pakistan coming out on top, very impressive. Malaysia squeaked ahead of Thailand yesterday. Singapore absolutely demolished Ghana, 21-4. That's currently the record for most individual wins in a match, and I have a suspicion that it may stay that way. Canada with a strong win over Kenya yesterday, and the United States, I was part of that effort yesterday, the 15-10 win you see there over New Zealand. Ireland in progress with the Philippines. I think that's still very close early on. It was 3-2 in round one, and not sure how it's progressed from there. But you can see the match that we're going to be bringing to you on the stream today, the UK versus India. So let's look at how that's going to matter for the pool play standings. So you see the two teams highlighted on the left in Group A. Those are the teams that are facing off. The UK really could use a win to vault back into the mix in Group A. Again, the top two teams from each group advance after 3 weeks of play. We are in week 2. So it's definitely time yet for the UK to rebound from its opening week loss. But India can really solidify its standing with a win today. They will almost guarantee that they will advance into the bracket phase with a win today. So without further ado, let's look at the matchup here. You can see for the UK, they're sending out Peter, Phil, Paul, Femi, and James, and India sending out Akshay, Sherwin, Udayan, Nakul, and Aditya. So looking at the stats from each of these teams' performance in week 1, you can see it was a tough week for the UK. They were beaten soundly by an upstart Thailand team that has a lot of really strong young players on it, players that are severely underrated by Westbrook rating. So the average score and average opponent scores, not so good for the UK, and somewhat of a low bonus total. But India, the stats tell a completely different story. A massive average score, not a very low average opponent score. It's not like they were just scoring, playing good defense as well. And just an unbelievable number of bonuses. And you can see that, so here's my little segment I call 5-point challenge, just 5 points that I thought were interesting about the statistics. You can see based on that, India had the top score on average per game and the most bonuses of any of the 16 teams in week 1. Really, really impressive performance. And not only that, they did it against a higher seed, Malaysia. India, the number 3 seed in Group A, Malaysia number 2. So not an easy opponent to do that against. So yeah, in week 1, probably the most surprising performance, that of Aditya Iyengar, who went 4-1 versus Malaysia taking down all 4 of Malaysia's top 4 seeds before finally succumbing to Andrew Chang in the last round. And yeah, Sherwin Rodriguez with a 1-4 effort versus Malaysia. He is an extremely strong player, definitely one of the strongest players in this tournament. So basically, if India can keep Aditya humming and get Sherwin back to form, they are going to be very, very difficult to beat. The UK, on the other hand, while India had the most bonuses in week 1, the UK had the fewest, and they also played the most phonies, so they will look to get that corrected today. And Paul Allen last week, averaging 432 points and allowing only 425. He was the only player to score more points than his opponents did on average in week 1 against Thailand. So we will definitely look for the UK to get back on the right track versus India today. So here you see all of the matchups that are going to be going down in round 1. So I will get a poll up right now for those watching. Up it comes, and there it is. So feel free now, just take a look at the matchups in round 1. A lot of good ones to my eye. And feel free to just type any number in the chat that appeals to you, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and we will focus on that game. Yeah, Paul versus Sherwin looks pretty good. Phil Robertshaw versus Akshay, another one that can't go wrong. And the number 1 seed of the UK, Peter versus the upstart number 5 seed Aditya. It's definitely good choices here for streaming matchup. So I will just pop on over to the coverage screen. Yes, Gideon, your mode is unlocked, so enjoy that. So no shortage of good options, and basically we will now just wait for the clock to tick. 9 a.m. for me, 3 minutes from now, but I'm sure, again, we do have a fully global audience here, and cool to see some fans of the India team. I'd see you guys in the chat. Thanks for hanging out. I do fully expect Sherwin to come back really strong this week. That was an uncharacteristic performance for him. I've watched him play before, and he's a really good player. So can't keep him down too far. Jalapik1 says, I managed to wake up on time. Yes, it is a bit early, an hour earlier for you than for me, and I'm still waking up. Good luck to you today. That's Jalapik1 is James Curley, the number 5 seed on Team UK. So hoping for a nice even match. Obviously, the match that I covered yesterday, Singapore versus Ghana, had its own narrative, which was that Singapore, losing in week 1 in surprising fashion, came back with a vengeance and announced themselves as indeed one of the top teams in this tournament. It was a surprising upset for them. In week 1. What is my prediction? Good question. I certainly am hoping for a close match. I do feel that overall these teams are somewhat evenly matched. But I don't know. This is tough. I do think the UK is going to bounce back in a lot of those metrics we just saw in the stats, but I do really like the top end talent of India. So maybe I'll just call it for India by a hair, but I would love to see the UK vault their way back into the standings and make it really interesting next week. Gideon, is that a typo or, oh, I think shot. Yeah, is there no shot? Yeah, there's probably... it's almost impossible for the UK to qualify. I think they will be out if they lose today. So it is a must-win game for the UK, whereas India could afford to lose now and they would still control their own destiny next week. Yes, 25 games. That is accurate. So it's 5 rounds of 5 games apiece. And basically... we've got our preference for what game to watch, and those 2 players have started their game. So let's have a look at Paul Allen versus Sherwin Rodriguez in round 1. So I will get those names entered in. Hold on a sec. And... there we go. almost ready here. As we see Paul opening the game, he's got a lot of consonants, and I'm sure that he will play something that uses as many of them as he can. He could play DAC and keep LRST, which is very bingo prone, but also very consonant heavy, or he could just play talk or dark. Maybe dark is the way to go, using one more. And that's what he does. But Sherwin prepared to answer right back with a bingo. Good morning, Evan. Good to see you. Let me get the Paul's stat right. Okay, there we go. All right, so we don't need this poll anymore. So I've tried to clean up my interface a little bit here. I felt it was a little cluttered. As we do see casting go down, that looks like a solid idea for Sherwin, taking an early lead. So he plays dark and casting. And it looks like to his promising leave of LST, Paul has drawn GGOO, which is not what you like to see, but I'm sure he'll be able to work his way through that. So once again, we are just starting. Fully aware that there actually is a great other matchup going on. So I'd actually encourage people to hop from channel to channel. That's odd for any streamer to say, but there's a really great matchup happening right now on twitch.tv /Lord Livgen. And that is between Ireland and the Philippines. Question about Gigolo being potentially too aggressive. Maybe not, but I think maybe a safer option would simply be to play glog right here. That odd word, it's very rare. I think it means, and there it is. So glog is safer to just get rid of the G's. It does keep OST as opposed to maybe without the O. But yeah, I like glog there. It looks like a really safe way to score a decent number of points and balance your rack. So back to Sherwin now. He's drawn the J, and does he have anywhere reasonable to play it though? Perhaps not. So yeah, as we noted before, Sherwin is definitely looking to rebound after his tough week 1 performance, and I fully expect that to happen. On the other hand, Paul, as we noted in the stats segment, the 5-point challenge, the only British player to come out with more points scored than his opponents last week. So let's see, what is he going to opt to do? It might be that he has to hold on to the J if he can't find, I mean, I suppose he could just play Jew under darks. That would be quite reasonable. Or what else? Maybe that's the idea that he should do here, and just dump his J now, leaving the sort of nice pace leave. Seems okay. No options are gonna, okay, and there is that play. Hello, good morning to WTF. Good to have you along. I'm not sure what I would do without you, frankly. All right, so back over to Paul, who has struggled with first consonant overload and then duplicates on his next turn. Now he's getting maybe ever so close. Oh, that's great. Okay, so Paul slaps down Hui very quickly, which not only does that score 42 points. Oh, I should get back my recent moves. Anyway, I'll try to announce the scores. Well, I forgot I eliminated that element to clean the interface. But, oh, no, I didn't. I changed it so that it shows up with the Quackle screen. Oh, but that's on the other screen. So 42 points for Hui, and the best part is that it sets up his S in a really lucrative way that actually looks like it's going to be pretty annoying for Sherwin to block. It's hard to see how he's going to block the Hui's hook in a productive way on this turn. Maybe he can pull it off. So I think likelier, though, is that he could play jibe. That would be a way to block. So here's the thing about Hui, though. Yeah, see, I was going to say, I think the thing about Hui is that it doesn't really necessarily say to Sherwin that Paul has an S. It scored 42 points. He's going to play that with a lot of racks. It doesn't matter if he has an S or not. So Sherwin may feel less urgency to block the S hook for that reason. If Hui were a play that scored way fewer points, maybe then that says to Sherwin, wow, he would only do that with an S in hand, and I have to block that hook. So instead, he plays Cape, which looks like a really good idea for him. Scores 33, and leaves BEI. So moving on back to Paul, who is getting closer. Foot set. So tricky move now for Paul, because it looks like in a vacuum, he may have to... Okay, so now after Hui and Cape in particular, if you see that Paul has an S, right? An S plays now with Scape, Huis, and Glogs. So it's possible that he can get away with playing something like Goof here if he wants to. He can play Goof. Actually, I could do this. So if he plays Goof, he still is going to have 2 spots for an S word to go down. I also see Oftist shouted out. That looks like a perfectly good play. Yeah, Foots or Oftist, those are both solid ideas just to continue scoring. So I like that idea for Paul, but he could have been tempted to play Goof, leaving his S just with 2 good hooks on opposite sides of the board still available. So I'll cut over to this screen now. So this screen will have my ability to go to Quackle if I want to show you guys anything from there. So for example, let's give it a try. There we go. So now you can see the recent moves. Those I'm just gonna, I feel that those are a little cluttered, so I'm gonna have those pop up only when I go to Quackle so that you can see the recent moves that were played. So here are just the static, aka the basic pre-simulation choices that Quackle says, which we always need to take with a grain of salt before we actually run a simulation, and then we still take them with a grain of salt. So I just started a little sim here, and it seems to like, oh wow, look at that. That's a great play. Miney, you can see that would play for a lot of points with a nice overlap to the Y of Hui. So that looks pretty good, but yeah, potentially, again, as we were just talking about, as I'll just stop the sim, we'll go back. So from Paul's perspective, keeping the S might have been valuable because of the Scape and Glog hooks, and so too is keeping a really strong S-containing leave, as Sherwin has opted to do. He just plays Bay, which was right behind Jab and Miney in the sim. Because Jab was simming so well, I have to imagine that keeping the second E there, he used an E with Bay. You can see he put this E down. He didn't have to. He could have just played Jab, just the B by itself. So because Jab was simming a bit better than Bay, I think the assumption there is keeping that second E is going to increase his bingo percentage even beyond what Bay is going to give him, but I bet they're high in both cases. Okay, so I can see now we're back to Paul's side. He has an, it looks like an unplayable 7-letter bingo of Terrar. That's probably not the right. The combination of factors that gives wine its character. Beautiful. And Rortier as well, but it looks like neither of those go down. Good point. So multiple non-goes, as we say, for a bingo that doesn't hit the board. So what should he do then? I don't know. This is going to be tricky. So Paul is discovering, I think Foots was a perfectly fine play by Paul, but I do think it gets him into these situations where he had a reasonable scoring play on the Foots turn that did not burn his S. And on this particular board, that S is everything for bingoing. So it hasn't worked out. I think that was a pretty strong play by Paul just to score as well as he can get. He plays Rory for 21. Turning things back over to Sherwin, who it looks like Sherwin fished off a B on his last turn and he drew another one. What else did I don't remember? He had Sherwin left. He just drew BT because he left mines on the previous turn. So not what you want to see is drawing another B. So actually, he could now opt to play the play that we had suggested for him before, right? So last turn we had suggested maybe he should play jab. And instead he played Bay, which was still a very strong play. Now he can play jab again if he wants and fish with, okay, he's used his M. That's reasonable. It scores a few more points. I bet his chances of bingoing are roughly the same. So if we just cut, I'm just wondering, I think Paul might be apt to play his move pretty quickly, but if we just isolate down to these two plays, I wonder what Quapple wants. Okay, so early returns are that Sherwin does in fact get more bingos down by using the M. Nice job. So Jam, in addition to scoring 3 more points, gets a few more bingos down than Jab does, and he's going to play inverts and glogs at the very least after Paul's flatten. So good. So these little nuances are so important. To play the M or the B on that jam turn for Sherwin could sometimes mean the difference between getting a bingo down and not. Okay, so Paul did make a really nice play of Fletton with his consonant overload. And Sherwin in pretty good command, but Paul is going to respond with a bingo here. He definitely has some that will play along this lane, ending in a vowel. I can spot something like naturae, aureate. So Paul is going to respond. He's definitely Tuatera, another good call. So something's going down in that spot. Paul just has to iterate through some of the options and figure out what he'd like to play. When he does eventually choose something to play in that spot, it's going to bring him roughly even. So Sherwin's draw will matter a lot here. If Sherwin draws poorly, that gives Paul the chance he needs to sort of vault back into the lead in the game. And actually looking at the unseen tiles at the bottom of the screen, it looks to my eye that there are a ton of vowels compared to consonants. If you just look down towards the bottom, I know it's a little hard to see my pointer, but here, let me just like down there. 4 A's, 4 E's, 6 I's. Okay, so aureate is played. Interesting choice with aureate because that gives up the L hook. So we will see if a laureate play ends up being played. So Sherwin, in fact, has the L, but does he have any reasonable plays? I mean, he could just play, well, I don't love using the U here, but if he wanted to, he could play lose and laureate. The problem with that, obviously, is he keeps a Q with no U. So it looks like aureate actually played with a ton of overlaps alongside Fletton as well. Not sure that that would have been correct to play, but just a fun option to think that aureate would also have played. Hold on, let me draw it out. It would have played with E, A, T, E right here. Just a few more points, probably not worth the volatility that would have created. Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry. No need to think about laureate right now with something like ZD available to the T. That looks perfectly strong. How do I know when the bag is consonant or vowel heavy other than visually estimating it? No great way. It's just something over time you start to get a feel for when you look at it. Wow, okay, so Sherwin plays Zo instead of ZD. That's interesting because it sort of messes with the laureate hook that he has, and in fact, it may have saved him major damage because Paul drew an L and a blank. He could have at least played something like Oilways up in that spot with laureate, and amazingly, he has opted to block it. I think I would have played ZD for sure, but the problem with ZD is that it puts a Z out into the triple lane, which could potentially get hit really hard. So Sherwin has opted to play it safe instead by playing Zoe, and it saved him at least a somewhat heavy hitting bingo there. Oh, I suppose that Paul will still have options like Sweatily through the E if he spots those. But really, it's not out of the question that you could play something like Whaley here, and that might actually do better. That scores quite well, opens the board a little bit. I don't know. It's tricky for Paul. What will he opt to do here? He's got kind of low scoring bingos through the E. Okay, he elects to play those. Hard to find fault with that choice, but it does give him only a narrow lead. So something like Liquid and Inverts right now for Sherwin is going to score a boatload of points and give him back the lead. Actually, he could play that here too with Laureate. So a couple good spots now. But Paul does spot his bingo of Sweatily. It's that is going to take some analysis to figure out whether or not that was the right idea. So 2 spots for Liquid at the very least that score in the 40s for Sherwin here. I would think it's probably okay to play Liquid in this spot right here. Oh yes, Swaley, that's right. And he kept the oh wow, Whaley. Oh, that's a great point by in the chat there. So Whaley would have been already a good play on its own merits, but it also sets up the case S on the triple lane. So instead of Sweatily, Whaley right here would have made a humongous spot there. Okay, Quilt goes down. I wonder if that's a miss because that is 14 points fewer than Liquid, even though I'm fully aware it gives a lot back. Those points are really important at this game score. It's a very, very close game. So leaving 14 points on the table does potentially open up possibilities for Paul to outrun his way back into the game, and sure enough, he makes a really nice play to go up by 25 of Drivel that had to be his best play. So those 14 points look like they would have given a lot of cushion to Sherwin right now. But he's got the X, which is a great fallback option for him. So he should have some way to retake the lead here. Yes, once again, we definitely are eating into, we have 2 streams going right now. At some point, it will go back down to 1, but we made the choice to cover as many matchups in the virtual World Cup as we could, even if it meant overlapping, which I think is the right choice because these videos are going to live on after the live broadcast for people to watch and catch up on what happened in each match. So if you're a fan of the UK or India, or if you are a fan of Ireland or the Philippines, which is over at Lord Livgan's channel, you should feel free to watch those, and you can come watch the video on my stream after the fact. That is one of the few times I will encourage people to do something other than watch my own stream. Okay, we see Vax go down. That looked pretty good. And Paul, oh boy, so not what Paul wanted to see. So early on, I had pointed out that there was definitely a vowel overload in the pool, and Paul has gotten the brunt of that here. That's just a really bad time for a draw like this for him. Not sure what he can do here. So, oh, actually, here, I'll show you guys the, here's what Quackle is saying. It shows that there's actually a pretty nice play of Deer. You can see Deer would play right here. Obviously, you don't like to leave OOU, but you can see there's a big gap between that play and the rest of, oh, he plays Coup instead. That looks reasonable. Uh-oh, so we see that Paul has lost contact. Oh, he's back. Okay, let's pick the game back up. So he's played Coup instead, which I like the idea of keeping that consonant. And Sherwin does have 3 eyes, so that's going to certainly get in his way in the end game. So look, Sherwin has 3 eyes. He will have options to score decently, right? That H is going to be really helpful. First of all, he can fit stuff in with Kai right here, such as Mihi. He could play Mihi in this spot right there. That scores pretty well. Or he also has the D for that spot. So even though Sherwin is saddled with eyes, he should be able to keep the scoring pressure on higher than Paul can. So it's looking tough. It's hard to see how Paul can use the letters that he has to come back from the deficit he's now facing, 21 points. Nice play there by Sherwin of Mihi, by the way. He spotted that hook, that insertion. Wow. Actually, there is a pretty nice play here for Paul. I'm not sure if it's a winning play, but you can see that he has, Ennead. That's exactly the play. He has that play right here through the A of Vax. I don't think that's going to deliver him the win against Sherwin's rack. I think it should be possible for Sherwin just to play anything with the D hook up in the corner of Zoe. You can see on the bottom of the screen right here, those are his letters, AADINPU. So from Paul's perspective, he has to be expecting that. Well, first of all, from Paul's perspective, he has to block plays here, hooking Chid. They score too much. So he's going to be looking to score or play in that area right off the bat. But unfortunately for him, even Ennead. So what happens after Ennead? He scores 27. He takes a 6-point lead. Oh, then it just yields. It just gives back even bigger plays to the triple, like Panda. Okay, so that's not going to get the job done, unfortunately. It's a good idea. But he definitely has to figure out some way to block that area and give himself as good of a chance as he can. It just doesn't look like the scores are correct. If he had a narrow lead, he might be able to hang on to it, but because he's facing a deficit, I think this game will be Sherwin's to win. It's a nice back and forth game. Good game to start with. Yeah, suggestion of Dean. I'm actually looking at that right now. Here's my proof. I have it selected. So Dean, if we go through the permutations of this move, basically, I think it's still going to be... Oh, wow. Upcasting is... Oh, my gosh. Okay, so that is really interesting, but you can see the thing that I was worried about is that Dean simply wouldn't even beat the plays in the upper corner making Zoe, like and Pud. You can see those 2 plays. So if we just give him credit to finding Pud, I don't know if he has an out. So as we continue to move along, yeah, and then there's Naira or Amnia as 2 outs. So we'll just go back to the original position that we're in right now. Let's see, what does Quackle actually want Paul to do? He's got 1:14 and counting to think about it. Okay, so it wants him to play Newman. And I think the idea of that is simply that it blocks the Chid hook and it guarantees that he can go out on his next turn, which a lot of the plays that we're suggesting do not go out next turn. So Ennead goes out next turn, but it gives up really big plays of Panda in response. So even though it scores 27, it doesn't do as well as plays that block that spot and perhaps give back only Newman doesn't give anything new back. It allows Sherwin to just dump his D with Zoe to Zoe, and then Paul goes out on the next turn. Okay, so he plays Dean. That was a play that we suggested. We just went through all the permutations of what it's going to be a longer endgame now. We'll see. Yeah, upcasting is now. Yeah, Newman is to block upcasting. Right. Good point. That's right. That's why it's liking Newman best. So. Oh right. Yeah, that's odd. It doesn't block it. Why? So maybe it's encouraging him to just play his P if there's no good way to block it effectively and go out in 2. I don't know. That would take a little bit of math wizardry to figure out. But suffice to say that even if Sherwin does not find upcasting right now, he can find much simpler plays that are still going to win, especially because Paul can't go out on his next turn. Gideon is channeling his emote to boost the players. I think Sherwin is going to win this game. So he has the instant win of upcasting if he sees it and thinks of it. Obviously, I didn't see it. That's going to be an amazing find. To think of that and see it, it's kind of, tucked away there. But a lot of easier plays than that should be winning here for Sherwin. Yes, Benji, I know. I don't envy those trying to watch 2 at once. Obviously, to those that are here, I thank you. But I totally support anybody wanting to finish the Ireland and Philippines match over at Jeremy Koo's channel at Lord Livgan. I'm going to promote that channel a lot because we want all of our streamers to be successful. Yeah, let's see. His suggestion to mute Will. I think that's a great idea. You can mute me and listen to the other one. Oh wow, Apian, nice. Okay, so Pud had the advantage of making a nice setup for the P there. So Sherwin does come out on top in that game. Let's see. It looks like a lot of these games are still. Is this one still in progress? Yeah. So this is between Femi. Hold on a second. This is between Femi and Diana. Oops. There we go. And let me just get this. Femi's number for his score. There. All right. So this is just another game in progress in round 1. It looks like this game is going in the direction of the UK. And let's see, what else? Is Akshay already playing? And it looks like Paul is all over Akshay in this. Sorry, Phil, I should say. Oh boy. Thank you, Benji, and congratulations to Andrew for being a subscriber to one of the best channels on all of Twitch. All right, so this is Phil. Hold on. I have my hotkeys now for all of this. Phil versus Akshay. I know that score is wrong because ISC's design has a flaw in that way. There we go. So some of the other matchups that are taking place. All right, let me, if we can find, I don't know if there's any interesting ones still to come, but let me we'll go back to the matchup coverage. We'll get this poll down. Actually, in fact, while we figure out who's winning their games in the first round, why don't we let you guys have a look at the round 2 streaming matchups and feel free to vote. So this is round 2 now. We just watched Paul Allen come up just short against Sherwin Rodriguez. So fulfilling that idea that Sherwin is going to bounce back today. Phil Robertshaw looks like he is definitely coming out on top. And let's see what happened with Peter Andronowski. Aditya came out on top in that game too. So Aditya continuing his really strong performance here. Femi just beat Udayan. And James came up short to Nakul Prabhu. Okay, so it looks like in the first round, we are going to have a score of UK 2, India 3. So let me get that adjusted. But still early days for these players. So let me get the poll back. Hopefully you guys can see that poll. Okay, so perhaps a repeat viewing of Paul against Akshay this time. I can see that some of the other games are starting, but not that one. So when those two players get off and running, we can check in with the two of them. And that's, what is it? Paul versus Akshay. Very good. So I have extensive hotkeying here, hopefully, to let me get the names and graphics up really quickly. All right, I guess while we wait, I'll just pop in and observe this game between Nakul and Peter Andronowski. Let me flip the flags. Krang, that's kind of a silly looking word. It always reminds me of the bad guy from Ninja Turtles, of Krang, which is also acceptable and means Krang. I will say that I'm trying to be professional on this stream, but if anybody wants to hear me impersonate Krang from the Ninja Turtles, that is an impersonation that I can do. The little brain that sits in the big guy's stomach. So save your points up for impersonations time for one of my normal streams. Yeah, Benji. All right. Almost every player involved in this match is examining their game right now. That's what you love to see. People figuring out. Yeah, that's the family stream. It's looking for impersonate. All right, I'll think about impersonating Krang at some point on the stream. If somebody does something good, I'll do a Krang. Okay, so Peter is sitting with one of these racks that, yes, I know, Gideon, I'm trying to practice on that when I think of it. You're totally right that I do owe that to you. Yeah, what to do here? Maybe just play off the Y somewhere. You can definitely just play Yo under Krang. I'm not sure if that's worth it. Yeah. Where would Oi go? Oi for Oi and Kai, maybe, to set up another line. Okay, Akshay and Paul are underway. Let's pop over to that game as requested. The flags are in the correct spots. I will prepare the backup screen. Very quickly, Fixed goes down, which I think looked pretty good. Akshay versus Paul. Paul with another sort of unpromising rack. He can play OG right on top of Fixed, though. I see that right away. That looks like a nice parallel play. It does give some re-parallels back, but I think he can live with that with a rack this clunky. All right, just a minute here. And down it goes very quickly. So I think we like that idea. All right. So we'll close the poll down, and we'll see that after round one, it is UK 2, India 3. Nice and close. We'll see how things stand after round two. Oh, by the way, I will adjust that. Sorry. It is round two, in fact. There we go. All right, so OG was played, and now back to Akshay. He should be able to overlap maybe something on top of the ET of OG if he wants to. Maybe underneath with EXO, I'm not sure. Maybe he should play like Boat or something down there. The EXO hook makes that possible. Yeah, Boa, maybe that's worth it. Will, do you like bacon? Yes, I do. It's very tasty. I know there are those that have various reasons to not eat it. I understand that, but I have no such inhibitions. So yeah, what happened with Akshay in the first round? Oh, I think Phil Robertshaw beat him. Is that true? Yeah, so Akshay 0-1, and okay, there is bacon. That's aggressive, right? There were definitely options that weren't quite as aggressive as that, but it's certainly not going to hurt him here, as Paul has absolutely the wrong rack to deal with the S-hook of bacon. I think the nice thing for Paul, unbeknownst to him, is that he doesn't actually have to worry about the bacon's hook just because Akshay didn't have it. Of course, he could have just drawn it, but he didn't have it when he played bacon. So what should he do here? Just pin on or something? Ugh. 3 ends. So with this rack, immediately you're thinking, get rid of as many ends as you can, and pin on does do that through the O of bacon. Good morning to Brenjam. Yeah, for those that like Scrabble streams, we got couple streams. Oh, and also good morning, good very early morning to Coco Scrabble. We do have 2 matches going on right now. So Lord Livkin, Jeremy Koo, is over at his channel covering Ireland and the Philippines. Wow, so Jinning is played. I think that's reasonable. He could have played pinging or maybe even plinging there, leaving just the lone N. Jinning leaving LP. I'm not sure if LP is necessarily good enough to favor, especially given those other plays also score more. But it's, you know, it looks like the right idea just to use up as many letters as possible from that unpromising rack. Okay, so back over to Akshay. He plays A really fast. That looks correct, clearly. He has good bingo tiles. The board is relatively good for bingoing through letters. Actually, most of the letters that you can play through are N's. Which so when Akshay played AY, he left orate as his leave, which actually combines relatively well with the N. So should he hit a bingo to the N, it looks like it's going to play a lot of the time, the overwhelming majority of the time. So over to Paul. He has some good bingo tiles, and then he also has a V to pair with his P. So you could see right now that this is sort of, you know, we were talking in the first game about the nuances between when Sherwin played jamb with his M instead of jab. These tiny, tiny, tiny little details that change the nature of plays. And I feel like Jinning is another example where there were other plays that were really, really close to that, but you can see how those tiny, tiny details manifest themselves just because having PV together on that rack for Paul really made it difficult for him to have any chances of bingoing at all. He makes a really nice play there, Volts, but Akshay definitely going to bingo here, and he does really fast with creation. So usually it's interesting because, well, okay, really quickly, just before we get too much further, Jimp plays parallel to creation. I'm sure that Paul will see it right here. As soon as he sees it, I'm sure he'll play it. It scores 50-something points. So there it is. Okay, so he spots it and plays it. So he's only a few points behind Akshay, even though Akshay's bingoed and Paul hasn't. Akshay, a rack that you would love to see an A open to play Eulogii. That's the sort of thing that saves a really ugly rack like this from being terrible, but there is no such play available. So instead, he's going to have to do something this is one of those racks where not even the best play feels good. There are some plays where you make a play that feels good and it's not the best. And then there are other plays where there are no plays that feel good, but one of them by definition has to be the best. So what should he do here? This seems like a job for Quackle. Let's go over to the screen that has that capability. So let's see, Louis looks like it puts an E out into triple lane. I'm just going to do a quick sim and see if anything pops up to the top. So the play that it's liking plays in that spot with all of the overlaps down column M. Again, if you're watching on ISC, the numbers are reversed. I did that to synchronize with Quackle. So definitely some plays in that spot are favored. It just looks like the best way to wring some points out of a difficult rack here. How am I entering the racks and plays into Quackle? That I don't understand the question. The totally normal way. I'm just doing it in between commentary. I'm trying to multitask. Okay, so Go is played, GOE. That seems fine. I don't know why G simmed so much better. I'm sure there's some reason for that we would have to dive into the sim a little deeper to figure out. But G, the I, putting the I there actually sims significantly better than putting the O there, which is something that I instinctively want to go combing through the sim log to figure out why that is, but we do not have time to do that. So back over to Paul, who's rack after Jimp. I think he left VID and he drew WIDD. So what can you say? We've seen a couple of games. We watched Paul in round 1, and we've seen a lot of this game. And he's had a couple of racks, a couple of draws that were particularly egregious. He's drawn kind of poorly, I would say. Akshay, on the other hand, this looks like a rack where he can probably wring some value here. He's got the QU together. So yeah, Cesar, you have to fix the Benji. Is it Benji Scrabble now? Yeah, it's Benji SC. It's not Benji 99. Yeah, there you go. Benji's emote is now different. Because he changed his name, it changed the emote too. Beautiful emote, one of my favorites. Maybe my favorite, more than my own. But I like Cesar's too. All right, so Akshay has the QU. He's got an A for Avid if he can somehow fish off his Q in a way that isn't too scary. I guess maybe right off the bat, I'm seeing that Queen QUEYN might be a reasonable idea to keep the A, but not positive about that. Oh, also Jimpy plays. Okay, so there is that play. Which that has some advantages, right? Oh, first of all, we need to, has anybody queried this yet? I think this is a word. Yeah, so that's a big deal. Of course, the Gideon emote is very dear to my heart as well. So the Jennings hook, if both players, I would imagine both players are relatively confident in that hook just because Collins has a lot more S hooks to ing words, but that's a really critical nuance. If one of them is very confident in that ing S hook and one of them is not, that could be a game changer here. So Paul had played Vid on his previous turn and he drew another W, so he's probably fuming right now if I had to guess. But he has to do his best to keep cool because it's not out of reach for him. He still has decent chances here. Okay, so Paul did have 3 sets of duplicate tiles of W's, D's, and I's, and he's undoubled them all by playing Wind, which looks like a pretty reasonable play. But unfortunately for him, Akshay is definitely bingoing with Avid, something with the Avid hook, or actually something. If he is, here's where we're going to see whether Akshay is confident in Jennings, because facials in that spot is going to be, or Kafilas, either one of those 2 plays, and Jennings is going to be a better play for scoring and positionally than anything with Avid, right? Because anything that's played here is going to yield comeback to the triple in multiple spots. Okay, so that right there is a great sign that Paul, if Paul gets lucky enough, if he's, well, first of all, he has Sweird, which doesn't play, I don't think. But the fact that Akshay played that up high is sort of a lifeline to Paul. Hopefully, if he can get an S bingo down low that Akshay is not thinking about. Oh, wow. So first of all, Sweird does play with Doff, right? So that 7-letter word that I just described will play here. But not only that, tucked away through this O is a much more normal bingo, TWL word as well. So that would be really, really interesting if Paul can spot weirdos through the O of Bacons and then draw some S's and play something with Jinning. That's his chance back into the game. Especially if Akshay is not thinking about this as having an S hook and feels that this area of the board is really ironclad. Like if Akshay views this board as having no opportunities down there, but Paul knows better and knows that Jinnings is a word, that's his pathway. There it is, weirdos. Great play. Really good spot. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to look through that O because it is a little bit obscured. So Paul making a nice play to keep himself in the game. Sweird would have given back something big, I'm sure, to the triple. I'm not sure what. But, so Akshay has drawn the P for Pavid. That's going to make it a lot easier for him to overlap up here if he wants to. But also having the Z is a great way to score. So, yeah, Gideon, I'm just, it's a little bit of a low energy period for me. I anticipate next week I will start feeling significantly better. So I'm just basically trying to conserve my energy as I try to stream these matches on the weekend, but I absolutely will be back to my normal schedule soon. So this next draw for Paul is really, really important because Akshay is going to score something nice here. 14 Domino points out Tapu. That's absolutely a great play. That's going to play right here. I'll put it on the board. So Tapu there scores 38. And then obviously something like Zoa here scores 41. So Akshay is going to get something in the 30 to 40, high 30s or low 40s range. Yes. I hit my follower goal in part due to this event. So we should all thank the Virtual World Cup for getting me to my original follower goal, which is going to allow Twitch Play Scrabble to happen again soon. If Benji's on board, which I know he is. Okay, so Paul drew an S, but unfortunately he did not draw enough vowels to hit that Jinnings hook right away, which he really, really needs. So that was a nice play of Tapu, by the way, by Akshay. That looks like the best idea here, keeping the Z over for next turn. Right, because the Z stands a much better chance than the letters that Akshay just played of scoring 40 or more points in the next turn, especially because he set up another spot for it here with Tiz. So Tapu, definitely a really good idea. Not sure what exactly Paul has to do here with this rack. It's just not... It's close to bingoing, but there are no plays that score anything good that also keep your chances of bingoing intact. So, I don't know. I have no idea what he should do here. Anybody have any great thoughts on this position? I guess it's not out of the question to play... Well, what is the unseen like? There's 12 vowels unseen to Paul, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 consonants and the blank unseen to Paul. So it's pretty even. I'm just wondering if he can get away with something like Reb right here and just create another big S hook. Obviously, the issue with a play like Reb here, let me make it easier to see, is that you're left with no vowels, and you can potentially, if Akshay has an eye for Puri, that's going to hurt. It's not great. He plays Amber. That seems okay. You know, there were no great ideas to create space on the board. I think Amber might be reasonable just to really pin all of your hopes on Jennings. But Akshay can just play Zoo right now. And that's going to be really problematic because even bingos that, Zoe, even better. That's significantly better in score and balance. And Paul's drawn pretty bad. I think I'm prepared to say that overall Paul has had rotten luck so far with some of these key draws just not going his way. The one saving grace of the draw that Paul just had is that he drew the last S. But there is still a blank lurking. So, yeah, that doesn't look too good. Yeah, rest in pepperonis. Indeed. Unfortunately, would like to have seen this come down to a really tight end game. I guess Paul could just dump an R and play 0. He could just pop this down in the upper corner. You can just see I put this there, but I don't think that's worth it. That is just Twitch. It says shaking my head. The ATM machine. It's also in that vein. Yeah, Paul taking a little breather here, probably just to collect himself. Maybe utter a few choice curse words. Yeah, it's not a good feeling. Not a good feeling when you have the last 2 S's and terrible imbalance to go with it. It's not that any of these letters are bad in and of themselves. It's the combination. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he should do. I guess if there were even anything that he could draw to by playing 0, that would be reasonable. I don't know. It's 26 points is okay, but you basically exchange so often after that anyway, or can't do anything. I mean, you can't exchange probably because there will be too few tiles a lot of the time. The Gidfather saying that the reason Akshay has already won is that he sent Gidfather power over, that is as reasonable a explanation as that I have heard. Play RL. Oh, 0 and RL like RLs. Yeah. I see. All right, well, Akshay with not a great rack, but it should be enough to get him home. Just anything. Amber blocked Calutron. What should he do here? Is there any overlapping plays? I guess there is nothing. With the 0, he has an R for 0 himself. If he wants, he could just plop down the R and just continue to pad his lead. That might be... So especially if Akshay does not believe that Jennings is a word, he could just pop the R down and keep the board every bit as closed as it is. Instead, he plays Orant. That looks fine. Turns a bunch of tiles, scores pretty well. It left a U on his rack, so he could have 2 U's right now. If he's not careful, he might have them. Okay, so here's... Wait a second. Wait a second. Am I seeing this right? That Paul exchanged an S? That's amazing. Because, think about this. Oh man, there's 6 tiles in the bag. All right, too bad. That's crazy because if Akshay had not just played 5 tiles, now Paul could play Erratize with all these overlaps on Orant, right? Erratize would play there. So had somehow Akshay left 7 tiles in the bag and all else was equal, what would have happened was Aerotize would go down and potentially Paul could pick the other S that he just exchanged and bingo out with Jennings. That is amazing, actually. Yeah, that is amazing. So Akshay, I don't know whether it was intentional or not by Akshay to play 5 tiles there, but playing 5 tiles was absolutely correct on a timing basis because it prevented that outcome that we were just workshopping from happening in Paul's favor. Very, very interesting. I would love to hear from the players if any of that was intentional. But yeah, it looks like Paul threw an S back. I would not say it's a mistake. I would say in this particular situation, that is, crazy like a fox type thing because Paul was down by a ton of points. And you got to do crazy stuff when you're down by a ton to get back in the game. And that, I think, qualifies, right? It's not about making the absolutely, purest strategic decision. You got to do something crazy that gives you a chance. So that's a nice idea by Paul and potentially great counter by Akshay just to play 5 tiles there. It just doesn't matter, right? After playing 5 on that Orant turn, Paul could have drawn anything after Aerotize and it would only be 6 tiles you can't bingo. There's nothing for him. Okay, so anyway, continuing on with the game, Paul does find his great overlapping play of Aerotize. That's great. Really, really nice play. Let's see, what is Akshay supposed to do here? Let's cut to the choices and ask championship player. His best endgame play is Sook and Jennings, which again, we're not sure if he's thinking about that as an option. It looks like the best play that does not hook Jennings, which we don't think he's going to do necessarily, would be to play Husk and Miggs and Pook. So that's just a QPR fan in the chat. That's Aditya says he had an insane game with Phil. We can check in on that. This game is basically decided, so why don't we have a look and see what happened in this game. A very, very close 7-point game. Oh no. So I guess it probably came right down to the end. Oh, I see. Wow. Looks like Phil out to a huge early lead. So, and he continues to be up by over 100. I think that's why this would be an insane game, because Aditya must have made an incredible comeback in this game. And he had a horrible rack as late in the game as there. So he's down by 100 this late. Sorry, let me get the names correct here so we can actually look at this game. There, okay. Oh, and also the Phil thing. Phil's, thank you ISC for being designed this way. All right, now this is actually this game. So we're just moving through the game quickly. What was available here? Glowry, beautiful. Getting that G out in space. Okay, so Aditya says he forewent Promise to go out. I don't have Quackle set up to just go into... Well, actually, you know what? I could. Stand by. We will get it. All right, now I have this. So we are looking at this Promise turn. Why is it not picking it up? Oh, I see why. Because I got to get rid of this. Come on, Quackle. There we go. Okay, so here's the moving question. So we're looking at this. Aditya says he forewent playing Promise to potentially bingo out. Yeah, that looks correct. That looks absolutely correct. So what did you do? You played Rip. Yeah, he can't do anything. He just cannot do anything about it. So what did you end up doing? Oh, wow, Borealis. Oh, there was also Laborers for 90. But looks like those were probably the only two winning plays. Yeah, Borealis and Laborers. And can Phil do anything about this? He really can't block he can't block this, can he? Yeah, he is dead. He is dead. He cannot block it. Amazing. Excellent job. Yeah, RIP. RIP to Phil. That's a tough loss there. Really tough. Great win for Aditya in that game. So, all right. Anyway, let's go back to the matchup coverage, and we will end this poll. And while we get the results, which all of the players are completed with, they're done with their round two matchups. So let's get the round 3 streaming matchups up while we figure out who ended up winning and losing these games. Okay, so right off the bat, we know that Aditya came back with a huge comeback win against Phil. We did see Akshay also defeat Paul. Femi versus Sherwin. Where do I see that? Is he offline? No, there he is. Looks like Femi defeated Sherwin. So there's a win for Great Britain. And James Curley defeated Udayan Grover. And Peter versus Nakul was won by Nakul. Okay, so another 3-2 win for looks like another 3-2 win for India in round 2. So the score is going to be 6-4 now, which is still pretty close. Let's get the poll up so we can all see. Actually, it's now round 3. And we will get that poll back. Keep voting, folks. Yeah, we can cut to the Aditya game, but it's going to be a poll. We had a bunch of other votes. So the point of the poll is to figure out what the most people want. So let me see. We'll get the score adjusted to 4-6. So it's still close. It's still very, very close. All right, there we go. So it looks like a solid amount of people in favor of James and Sherwin, and then Paul and Aditya. So we've seen Paul already twice. People are voting twice, but the poll only keeps in the first vote. So you can't notice that the poll doesn't change when you're trying to cook the books, unless I made it so that you can vote twice. I don't think I did. Yeah, there is no voter fraud here. It prevents you from voting twice unless I could theoretically enable people to vote more times, but that is not turned on for this. Okay, so the Paul and Aditya has drawn even with James and Sherwin. Maybe just TI does block. Yeah, maybe there are ways. But there might have actually been other bingos in other spots. I'm not sure. We have to look a little more closely. So anyway, neither of the games that were voted for have started yet. Thank you to JackNap19. Appreciate the follow. Okay, it looks like the Aditya heads have gotten their wish. So we can cut to that. It's been a very Paul Allen heavy stream. So maybe we'll have a moratorium on poor Paul, who's drawn not so great in these games. He's had a couple draws in particular that were really unfortunate. So as soon as so neither of those games have started. So we will. Also I have to flip those flags just for the time being. But yeah, as soon as we get those games underway, I guess while we're waiting, we can just cut back to the pool play standings, or maybe why don't we just cut back and have a look again for those that just joined at the week 2 results so far while we're waiting for another of these games to start in round 3 of this matchup between the United Kingdom and India. So not sure how Ireland is going with the Philippines. That, if you are interested in checking that out, as okay, we see both of the games I think that we wanted to see have started. Oh no, they haven't. In a very rare, oh wow, Ireland is trailing 9-11. That is surprising. Ireland I think of as an extremely strong team, so that would be a great win for the Philippines. Pretty amazing, actually. So, but you can see this week Pakistan starting it off with a really huge win over Australia, 16-9. So that's certainly a shot across the bow for Pakistan, that they are a force to be reckoned with here. Australia, we thought of as like one of the co-strongest teams with the U.S. And that is a surprising result for sure. Malaysia coming out on top versus Thailand. Singapore, probably the story of the week, 21-4 over Ghana. And Canada and the U.S. also coming out on top. All right, so I see the game, the feature game is now underway. Let's cut to it. So this is a game between, once again, Paul Allen, his 3rd time on the stream, and the very popular Aditya Iyengar in the chat. We can cut over to James versus Sherwin at some point as well. As we hide this poll, you can see it is round 3. We are just getting to the halfway point of this matchup, currently sitting at 6-4 in favor of India. As Paul starts with Gerbil, and Aditya is going to play something good with Natures, or I don't think Jaunters is a word, so he's got to be careful not to play that, I think, right? Isn't that a relatively famous film? Oh, Sauterne, of course. Double. All right, let's see here. Let me just get this stuff correct. Make sure my Quackle's up to date so we can provide that. All right, so at the very least, Paul can counter that double with something like add mix right here. That's going to look like it's a pretty good idea. All right, and let me see. It's all okay. Very good. Let me just see. Do I really have the? There we go. Okay, so we'll cut back to this screen when the scores are ready. They have to be 3 digits for it to line up correctly, unfortunately. So we'll go to this screen and wait until both players hit triple digits, and then away we go to the even nicer looking one. So yeah, Minx also looks like a pretty good option. A fair number of points playing parallel to Sauterne. If Paul is unwilling to put the X in the triple lane, he really doesn't have to. That does score 7 fewer points. And G's comes down instantaneously, and with good reason. That was absolutely the correct play with that rack. It had a ton, I don't even know exactly what it was, but it was basically a Z and a ton of vowels, so there is no way that wasn't the best move there. Nice quick play by Aditya, who has only used 20 seconds of his clock for his first 2 plays, so that's a good omen for him, playing quickly. Yes, four E's, an I, a T, and a Z. So leaving TIE over is a pretty good. Didn't the UK go 3-2 in round one? I don't believe so. I could have it wrong. We'll just cut back really quickly. Yeah, we had it as 3-2 for India both times. If any of those are inaccurate, we'll have to go. If anybody knows which of those are inaccurate, feel free to let me know. I think I went through pretty carefully though. Oops, hold on. Paul's, well, we'll leave it there with 87p looking weird like that. No problem. It's about to be correct as soon as he plays his next move, which, let's see, what does Quackle think about it? So it looks like anything with DA in this spot right here looks like a solid score in the 30s. But I guess what are these C play? Oh, putting MM in space and no, Mana, MNA. So something like this is also being favored by Quackle. So couple of options. I'm not sure which one I prefer actually. Let's see what does Sim say when we actually sim it. Yeah, they're close. These plays are all really, really close. Ulm, I guess that has a slight advantage. You might get a few more bingos down. I'm not sure. Let me see if these three really are roughly equivalent. Yeah, it looks like Ulm bingos a small amount more than the other two plays. So if Paul is looking to max out his chances of bingoing, the best way to do that would be to play Ulm in that spot. So we'll see what he opts to do. You can't really go wrong by playing anything with DA there as either. So okay, and there we do see Dam be played, but Vibiest is going to come down probably instantaneously, and sure enough, there it is. So Paul just having a rough go of it. Aditya playing very well, very accurately. His first three moves, obviously all correct. 2 bingos and an excellent scoring play besides. He's up by 100 points. I can feel Paul Allen's brain exploding here. It's just sometimes you just get these days of Scrabble that your opponents are just hammering you and you're down by, I mean, Paul has not made a misstep really. I think Dam simmed best, even though Ulm might bingo more just because it scores a bit better. So Paul's made 3 plays, none of which are mistakes, and he finds himself down 100, and he's already lost his first 2 games of the match. Really, that's just more of a testament to Scrabble than anything Paul has done. If you were here from the beginning of the broadcast, you remember that in the, here, let me see, we'll go back to the matchup coverage, or sorry, today's matchup. You see one of my 5 points of the 5-point challenge was that Paul was the only player last week for the UK in a tough loss to Thailand. They lost pretty decisively to Thailand, but Paul was the only player to score more points than his opponents did on average. He is a really strong player. So, yeah, good point by Spherilytic. Absolutely true. I have still not internalized that lesson of basically treating my time as a resource that when I squander it, it's basically on some kind of a par with the points that you're scoring. So you could have 2 moves, one of which, if you make one move instantaneously, or if you make a move that's 1 point of equity better, but it took you 5 minutes to get, it actually ended up being worse off for you. It's a worse outcome because time manifests itself in this kind of nebulous way that Quackle doesn't tell you about, but in the actual game situation, it couldn't be more obvious that being low on time is going to end up hurting you. So I still struggle with that. As we see Paul play Rock and Aditya respond with Gov and Vom, which is a great way to just score decently and also, you know, not allow anything. There's no hook to Vom. So by playing Gov in that way, he's cutting off a lot of the board in one go. Kind of a gross imbalanced rack. Duplicates, not a lot of vowels. Paul's going to have to start playing a little bit crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't say a minute of time is necessarily 10 equity. I don't know what the calculation is, but Okay, Paul has played Trill. He could be setting up Trillo. That would be a nice idea. So basically, he didn't actually draw a bingo setting up Trillo, but he has Sandlot in various locations now. Yeah, I think Trill was a nice idea for that reason, just creating a threat for yourself. But he is going to need way more than just this bingo now. He's down by 130. But obviously, Aditya just showed us a game where he was down by roughly the same amount of points, and he managed an incredible comeback against Phil Robertshaw. So perhaps Paul can give him a taste of his own medicine. We'll see. I don't know. That's going to be a tough ask. Yeah, I would think at this point, though, that Sandlot should probably be... He's probably looking at the two positions of Sandlot and saying to himself, which is the best for board openness in the future? And I'm not really sure what the answer to that is. Right, so we have two locations. There's only two places where bingos go down, and they're right here. You see the two arrows. All right, he's picked one, and it is the vertical placement of Sandlot. Who's to say? I don't know. I think that might be reasonable just because the dam hook with E, N, S, like there's a little flexibility playing in that spot, whereas, oh, my arrows are going backwards. Then you have also sevens lanes parallel to Sandlot, so maybe there's more options after that play. And Aditya is still, he's just used up no time at all. Playing his moves super fast. Paul has drawn UWW, unfortunately. To continue the comeback after that is going to be tough. I guess he'll just have to play Woo and move on and hope he gets something really good out of the bag. Yes, when you, that's right. Where is Tim? Tim when you need him. I guess Tim is very family oriented when he's at home with his family because he is not on the Scrabble streams lately whatsoever. There are worse things to be than family oriented, but that is surprising for somebody that is absolutely on every Scrabble stream to just go completely missing. During family time. All right, so yeah, I think that he has to get rid of WW here, and there really is only one way of doing it. Actually, look at the difference. Okay, he's played it, but look at the difference in valuation here between Woo and the next closest play. So valuation, just for those unclear, that's just sort of the computer algorithm Quackle that we use to evaluate our games. Just puts a number on different plays that aggregates the value of the score and then the letters left behind. So it looks like ENU is maybe slightly negative, but scoring 31 points is good, and all the other leaves that you see there, EUW, NUW, ENUW, all of those further down are so much worse than ENW. Maybe I have the rack wrong. Where did when we play on that board previously? All right, anyway, we see flip be played really quick. And we'll cut back to the normal. Benji making dam with G's still available. That doesn't fit. I don't understand. Maybe early morning. Okay, so Paul plays UFO. That looks nice. The interesting thing about that situation is he could have played Gauf, but you can see that playing UFO instead preserves some scary options. Right? By playing UFO, he sets up potential places for himself to, if he draws a D, he can play duh, and then he could maybe hit triples through OW. Those would be really nice threats, either one. And Sparky is played by Aditya. That should pretty much finish the game off. I think Sparky's also good. Yeah, Parkey's is also good, but maybe it's, I think Parkey's might take a T-hook, so maybe he wanted to just play Sparky instead for the same score, which seems quite reasonable. Yeah, definitely UFO is the play there for Paul. He has to get threats on the board in that way. And now, to make matters worse, I think he's finally drawn a bingo. Oh, he still has Genoise or Epigons. So Paul has bingos available, but it seems a bit too late now, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's just tough sledding for Paul so far in the first few games. We've seen them all. Oh, my bot is up and running. Okay, I didn't realize that. I will turn it off real quick. I will take care of that. Didn't realize that. Sorry. Sorry for bot going too overboard. Actually, I'll just turn it off on everywhere that's not myself. I think most people know how to set it up now. Get the bot back. I think I fixed it, but feel free to let me know. I think that should do it. All right, there's Genoise. All right, actually, this is a pretty bad rack. This is a bad enough rack that Aditya has to be careful, because there still are. So Paul is now down by not an insurmountable amount if Aditya makes a misstep here, right? Like something crazy through OW all the way is going to score an amazingly huge amount. But how is he going to block it while also scoring enough points to outrun a big enough play with duh here? I'm amazed that Paul actually has continued to fight and get the score into a state where he actually is sort of threatening Aditya here if he draws really, really well out of the bag. And goodness knows he deserves it, right? Like, what is the best play that Aditya can muster from a scoring perspective here? Whatever that is, it could still leave him open to really bad racks in the end game. So if he makes a scoring play that, well, let's see, right? Let's see. So Uoi doesn't look smart. Miyu, maybe that's as good as he can do, right? So let's say he plays Miyu and draws poorly to ACII, and Paul draws a bingo here. Or even worse, a triple, right? He could definitely draw something starting with down. So just look at what's available from the unseen pool here. Just look down at the bottom. So you could see that there's definitely stuff that, you know, he could play something with the D's. Down, yeah, like downgrade, yeah, absolutely. Downgrade is possible, but even that, you could just get down rate or something. Anything that's not even a bingo is going to score a ton. So this is a bit of a surprisingly dicey situation here for Aditya. He has to be careful. If he was going to do something literally just like cow, right? What if he just pops his C down to prevent those big plays? Well, then he's stuck with 6 vowels. And then still Paul can hit him really hard with a play there and draw well in the end game, especially if he plays a natural without the blank and then draws it. So yeah, maybe Owie is what's called for, but even Owie has the same problem. Okay, so wow. Oh, wow. So Paul drew the D, he drew the blank, but it doesn't look like he's going to hit that play that he needs right now. He really, really needs it now. Does he have anything tucked away that I'm not seeing here? Yeah, unfortunately, no guh. You could easily see that. That sounds like internet slangy type. So yeah, I think cow is a good idea just to prevent those gigantic plays. It does leave him open to some bad situations. We know he has 6 vowels. He could have 7 vowels. So Paul can still preserve some semblance of chances here. Boy, I don't know. This is a tricky one for Paul. He has to figure out a way to get some points, I think. How can he get points without using his D? That's the trick. I really would like to see him get enough points that his eventual bingo is going to actually vault him ahead. But I just don't know, right? Like, so a lot of the good plays that you can get to get a few points use up the D, like Lend, that will score decently well, but it uses the D up. I don't know. Maybe just Lent. Maybe he should play Lent. That's probably the idea. If he plays Lent for 20, maybe he can draw something. Okay, he plays Dent instead. I don't like that. He may get lucky and redraw the D. Actually, it looks like so Aditya drew the Y, which that's in a vacuum. You would like to see more of a hard consonant, but actually I think the Y is just what he needs here to just stay ahead. Isn't it? Can he just potentially do something to outscore whatever Paul eventually has? What if he just plays tie right now? I think that ought to win, because he's mostly going to have low scoring letters. So I'm curious. Oh, Quackle gave me that rack. So let me see. This is more of a math problem. Basically, you just have to find a Y play that gives you a number of points that you are confident that, I guess maybe you're trying to beat Groaned. Odie suggested, yeah, even better. So basically, Odie in that spot is better than tie. And I feel that should probably beat everything. It's hard to imagine a play that outscores that. So I think Aditya is going to hang on. So basically, from Paul's perspective, he really needed that bingo on the Dent turn. He was so close. If he had just, instead of one of those ends. Oh, yes, Dampy. Sure, Dampy. Dampy looks good. Might be something there. YAE. I think that's relatively a YE, any of those plays. He plays OYE, and we are going to see Groan to be played, and it's just not going to be enough. So that was close. Yeah, I don't even think Yardanks would have done it. Certainly not after Oi. I mean, the score, you can just see that the score is too much. Even so, Paul just gave an extra challenge to that. Here, we'll just see. You can see the recent results there. Oh, my Quackle is still chugging away. It did like Or. And yeah, it looks like Gourmand groaned, or I guess groaned is 81, a ground is 84, Gourmand is 84. So not going to be enough. After those plays, Aditya will still win by a solid margin. So wow, I got to say, Paul, for being down the entire game, he did a really nice job to fight back into a position where he had legitimate winning chances at the end. I didn't really see that coming the way the game was going. But Aditya ends up winning again, so he is just having an awesome Virtual World Cup so far. Congratulations to him. And there we see Gourmand is played. That's going to stay. It is valid. So a 494 to 466 win for Aditya against Paul. Really nicely done. All right, let's see. What was the other game? I guess the other game you guys were interested in was James, and that game is complete. What's going on here? Looks like Akshay just got down an enormous bingo to wrest control of the game from Femi. Let me see. Let me get the names right. It's Akshay versus Femi, and we will get the score. transformed in just a second. No. Oh, I see. I messed that up. The flags are reversed. There. Okay, that's correct. So let's see. Anything through the E? Wow, the Philippines has won its match against Ireland. That is a surprise to me. I am personally, as a team in a division with both of those teams, I am worried about our matchup with Ireland, but we beat the Philippines pretty soundly. So great job to the Philippines for coming out on top over an Ireland team that has 2 players 2,000 rated. Impressive. So let's see what's happening in this game. Femi just played Ma. He's setting up Oma. He can play put down, and I'm sure there's stuff that he can play to the E like unpotted, but that's not going to score enough. Anything that Akshay can play with Ama should probably do the trick for him here. He can just play fair and easily win the game. So it looks like Akshay is going to beat Femi. All right, let's just see what's happening here. Oh, I will end the poll for round 3 as we get set for round 4. All right, let's get a poll up for round 4. Everybody get your votes in. Okay, so just to cut back to that screen, fair was played as I suggested it would be. Okay, yeah, let's give poor Paul a rest. Let's get some players we haven't seen. So if you vote for 3, shame on you. We want to get some new blood in there. Actually, Nakul would represent new blood, but we've seen Paul 3 times. Yeah. All right, let me see. So we just saw Akshay come out on top over Femi. And we also watched Aditya come out on top over Paul. So India continuing to do quite nicely. Peter defeated Udayan. So there's another win for Great Britain. And Phil defeated Nakul. And how about James? James he lost to Sherwin. Okay, so another 3-2 win. All right, so it looks like Peter versus Sherwin is the choice for now. I like that choice. We haven't seen these players, and in fact, their game just got underway. With Peter playing Undid. He left a V on his rack. I'll let the poll sit up a little longer while I get some of this other stuff adjusted. So the score of the match currently after 3 consecutive 3-2 wins for India. I wouldn't say India is owning. They're up 9-6. So a good win on one of these rounds by the UK is going to equalize the match. Right, like if the UK goes 4-1 in this match, it'll be tied going into the final round, which I think we want a nice close match. But India is on the verge of breaking it open with a good set of games for themselves. Okay, let me see. Let me get the. So this is between Peter Andronowski and Sherwin Rodriguez. Let me see if I had that correct. Players are swapped. There we go. Getting the score right. It's going to be so nice not to have to massage the ISC interface. There's so much annoying stuff that has to be done. I've automated it as much as is humanly possible, though. Okay, very good. All right, let's zone in on the game. Yeah, tone arm. That should certainly be. I would think that we will see that be played, and we do. So Peter, we didn't see this because we didn't pop in for the start of that first move, which Peter played nearly instantly, but he had a V on his rack and he just drew another. So this is between Peter. Yeah, Peter and Sherwin both really, really strong. This should be a really good game. Hopefully they draw nice and evenly, so that they can both get a chance to show their strength. All right, so Undid was played, Tone Arm in response, and unfortunately, I don't think there's any spelling of gravy that uses two V's, but yeah, Vivary or Navi, that's also a decent idea. Navi scoring quite well, leaving GER. That looks like a good idea. Okay, so back to Sherwin. He's got the J, which at the very least, it looks like he'll just be able to play Jap for pretty solid score. Seth Lipkin is now following. Not sure who that is, but thank you for following the stream. Appreciate it. Look forward to getting to know you better. Just teasing. We all know Seth Lipkin. If you don't know who that is, you're living under a rock. All right, so Jap is played. We like that. It's 42, and then Gettard is instantly played in response and gets an extra 5 points. Just a quick challenge, but Briefed, is that going to play anywhere? I'm sure it will. Maybe not. Bird feed is a word though, so let's see if that is played. So Sherwin has debrief and briefed on his rack, but I don't think those will play, so he's going to have to figure out other words, of which he does have a nice one here of bird feed if he sees it. So let me catch up a little bit. Gettard was played. Dapper Babe. That is a very interesting name. Thank you for the follow. I am not a dapper man, so I respect everyone that does self-identify as dapper. So that's, it takes a village. It takes a village. I'm good at Scrabble. Some people are good at close. So let me see. Oh, we don't need this poll anymore. So you can see it is actually not round 3. We are into round 4. So I will say this. I have 17,500 channel points for Benji. Wow, the follows are coming hot and heavy. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Smallig, S Mallig, for the follow. I hope you guys are enjoying the coverage. Just a quick recap of what we're up to here. We're bringing coverage of the Virtual World Cup, which is a World Cup style event. Obviously, we keep featuring 16 teams of 5 Scrabble players from all around the world. We really do have a global audience here, which is awesome. Hi Heather, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, we'll try to bring. These are some of the best players in the world, so the things that they're doing are at a really high level, and we're going to try to make that really accessible for everybody. But yeah, Virtual World Cup, we are in week 2 of pool play. There's going to be 3 weeks of pool play as we wait for Sherwin to either find his bingo or not. You can see that here we are. Here are the standings midway through the second week of pool play. Not every team you'll see has 2 wins or losses to their name. Some do. Some are. So, for example, Ireland lost. You see in Group D on the right. They're going to move to 1-1, and the Philippines will also move to 1-1. In fact, I can just change that right now quickly. As we still are waiting for Sherwin to play. Don't worry, I will not miss a beat when we get back to there. So the only matchup that's in progress is... oh, wait, what happened? I did something wrong. I must not have just accepted it. There we go. Okay, so now I think the standings that you see here are actually up to date. This matchup between 2 teams in Group A, between India and the UK, pretty important match for both teams. So, all right, we actually have both players in the hundreds. I don't know why Peter's name isn't correct. Oh, I changed India. Okay, thanks. I will fix that in a minute. Sorry about that. I definitely think India is in a good position right here. Okay, that'll do. Pakistan versus Canada tournament is, I think that's just an individual series of events that Pakistan is doing with their players. They are not content to just compete in an event like this. They are taking on all challengers and doing a pretty good job of it, all things considered. Thank you to Lord Livkin. This is, yes, that clip is going to live on. I wonder if you're going to get other people in your raid to use that as the raid theme. Thanks everybody for joining. I hope you guys had a good stream with Ireland and the Philippines. I admit I'm a little surprised by that result between the two teams, that the Philippines coming out on top by a pretty solid margin over a really strong Ireland team. So congrats to the Philippines team for keeping their chances of advancing to the bracket alive. Oh yeah, debrief. That's right. Okay, I fixed the India standings now. If we go back to that screen, sorry about that. All right, so it looks like bird feed was missed, but beef is a pretty solid play as well. So beef for 36, leaving RID. That's going to end up being good a lot of the time, and we'll see what happens from there. But it could be that missing bird feed ends up being a big swing if Sherwin's racks go south from here. So back over to Peter, and he's got a lot of O's, it looks like, and he uses them all immediately by playing Ovalo. Deldar 182. Deldar. Thanks for the follow. I have a pretty good idea who that might be. Lots of people who I seemingly already know following the channel. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the coverage, and if you were hopping over from that other matchup, that is a surprise. Ireland is a really strong team, so I'm very impressed. Wifty played by Sherwin. I think we've already seen that being suggested as a solid play. I'm still thinking about Ovalo, actually, as I'm yammering on about other stuff. All right, plays coming really quickly. I saw Han go down instantly, and I believe it left a Q behind. So that's both players are struggling with different kinds of problems. It looks like Peter with high scoring points, pointy tiles that aren't really good on this board. And actually Sherwin struggling with low point tiles, which also aren't good on this board. It's just not a good board for any type of activity. Yeah, that's I don't know if it's family stream appropriate, but the first thing I thought of when you guys were talking about my slip of the tongue the other day was Frank Booth from Blue Velvet, that scene where he screams at the top of his lungs, "I will blank anything that moves." Great movie. All right, these guys are just absolutely determined to play at a pace that is too quick for me to even say anything about. Okay, so we do see the Q come down. And obviously the reason that came down so quickly is that had to have been the best play on this board. But there is a bingo now with capo, right? Do we see it? The 7-letter word that is on Sherwin's rack. So if he spots his bingo on this rack, he should be able to just pop it down, and that's going to be huge for him, actually. So if you look at the board after the word that he has, which is carinal, if you don't know that word or didn't see it, that's okay. There it is. Okay, so now look at the shape of the board. It's just horrible, right? There's one 7s lane that is hittable at all. You could imagine a play coming down from the D, but other than that, this whole part of the board is pretty walled off. It's going to be really hard to access. Only a 6-letter word ending in A is going to open the space. So Oh, well, I say that, but then Wex does go down for a ton of points, so that's helpful. But even that doesn't bring him that close, and now he's going to get hit with something big here like ZHOS, Zoes, right? Zoes is going to score far more than Wex did, so that's bad. So I guess there are, so like I said, there is a sevens lane here that's possible to hit. Either player that hits it will definitely be in good shape on such a difficult board. And then there are Ovalos plays that could potentially open more space. But as it's currently constituted, this is not a good board for bingoing. I had said that it was not good for scoring. Okay, well, the slim options available on the board are actually being hit. So my proclamations that it's a difficult board to score and play on are proving incorrect, and they're also playing seemingly as fast as possible to prevent me from saying anything about the game. So I appreciate that to both players, but no, I'm just kidding. They should do whatever they want to play as well as they can. It looks like they're playing well, so if they can play both well and fast, then that's great for them. All right, so after all of that flurry of activity, it looks like this is a 1-point game. So I'm hoping that at some point it will slow down, because in such a close game, you got to think a little bit. So, all right, let's try to catch our breath and see what's going on here. Sherwin is on turn. He is only trailing by 1 point, so he has kind of a golden opportunity here to set the tone for the rest of the game. It's possible that he will just balance his rack and maybe go for something like, if he just plays Geo here, that doesn't score terribly. It's hard to see how he's going to score much better than that. Maybe he'll hit something to the B. So we will see how things proceed from here. He plays Yogi instead. That's surprising. So basically, he has really, by playing Yogi in that way, he's really opened himself out to being outrun. As opposed to Geo, which at least scored a respectable enough amount. Also, if he's concerned that Peter had something strong, playing Geo would have blocked the bingo lane that's available after Diapause. Of course, playing Yogi and keeping good bingo tiles, preserving the lane, may end up helping him if he ends up bingoing there. I think I would have preferred playing it a little closer, a little tighter, and playing Geo. Another option, so especially if he was worried about playing Geo and closing this lane, actually, he could have played Agio here too, right? He could have fit it right in here, in this spot, and he would have kept a similarly good leave while still retaining that lane. So I think there were ways of accomplishing that. I don't know. It's just a lot of points to leave on the table in such a close game. So we'll see what happens. It's definitely that extra lane leaving. So Yogi did leave AIRS, and it looks like it looks like he'll get another chance here. It looks like he's literally drawn GIO. That's the ISC special for everybody right there, for people that are dubious of whatever algorithm is used. So he's got a chance to get Agio again if he wants. And I guess what should give him pause is that even after playing Yogi, Peter just went right ahead and played Mold, which is extremely bold of him, right? If he sees a play like Yogi that looks really bingo prone, playing Mold, setting up a big hook in that spot, absolutely suggests that Peter is saying, wow, okay, you think you're strong? I'm stronger. So from Sherwin's perspective, I think it's kind of like a math game now. Basically, you want to, I think he should probably play Agio and go for as heavy, a high a bingo chance as he can, and basically hope that he hits a B bingo or something. I don't know. Right? Is that even likely to, if he plays Agio and Peter plays a bingo with molds, he will easily win after a B bingo, and he may even win after a bingo alongside Diapause. So it's tricky. It's tricky. I definitely like. You can see already that the points of Yogi were low enough that it did give Peter sort of the initiative to just score anything decent and potentially win after his own bingo. But we'll see how it shakes out. It's just funny that he played Geo and then drew Geo again. So, all right, let me see. I have my Quackle candidates coming. Once they pop up, I'll let you guys know what Quackle thinks about that position. Actually, we don't have a ton of time for Quackle to do its work because Sherwin is down to about a minute. So I'm sure he's going to do his next play quickly. And based on how quickly Peter's been playing, if he has a bingo, it's going to go down instantaneously, I would bet. So we'll see what the computer spits out in just a few seconds. Yeah, pretty egregious time advantage. So there's Io. That is a very intriguing play. So the idea of that, it's not going to prevent, oh yeah, Relents is still going to play underneath there with Ion. So just quickly going back to Quackle, finally spitting out its choices for Sherwin's move. We got to take these with a grain of salt, obviously. I really don't understand the Glia idea at all. It thinks Glia does well. There's good old Agio that we pointed out. And there's Io there too, a couple down. You can't see it. I only have the top 5 showing. So who knows what it's thinking with Glia. Maybe there's some potential of hitting the B more, holding the O with this particular pool. I don't really know. We don't have time to go into that. I think Agio is the play that I favor with all the overlaps on the inside. But finally, Peter is thinking about what to do. I see Nestler being suggested. That's reasonable. There's also actually Lornist. I think that word is now back, that beautiful word, Lornist. Wait, does that actually fit? Hold on a second. Did I put Io in the wrong spot? Yes, I did. So Lornist is not real. It's because I put Io one space over from where it is supposed to go. There we go. So Nestler would still play. Yeah, he should. Yeah, seeing it pointed out that just one tile plays win a lot. I don't know. I think I can concoct some scenarios where they don't, but I think they will a lot of the time. This is a tricky one for sure. He has a ton of time to think about it, and he's earned that by playing super fast. So yeah, he may want to try to force bingos up high, which do exist, a couple of them. Bearings, Beguines, I see a couple. There's certainly far fewer than exist in the other spots on the board. So basically, for anyone that's okay, so he does play Relents, and he wow, Sherwin drew. He didn't even draw anything. So basically, in this particular situation, everything would have won just because Sherwin didn't draw it. So congrats to Peter on wrapping up this win. Very touch and go there towards the end. Actually, from an academic standpoint, it's very interesting to try to figure out what Peter should have done. So we can try to think about that a little bit. Yeah, you got to spend a little longer. It basically, you have the first decision to make in that position is do you want to go ahead and bingo immediately, or do you want to fish a tile? And if you decide you want a bingo, I guess you should just play it quick to keep the pressure on Sherwin. But I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know. I definitely think it's possible playing one tile is best. I don't know if there's a way to get to 100% win is the problem. But as it turns out, Solid win for Peter over Sherwin here, and that's really, really helpful to the UK cause because, as you can see, the score going into round 4 was the UK 6 and India 9. So that had to have been the first game to finish, and sure enough, it was. So we can pop in. Let me see the poll. What other matchups were? Yeah, Phil versus Udayan. That is, we haven't seen either of those players on the stream. So let's check in with these two. As we get a little bit closer, let me get the names correct. It's Phil versus Udayan, and the scores are reversed. And Udayan's little window is supposed to be there. Okay, so now we're all set on this. Again, shout out to ISC for making that as annoying as possible for me to go from game to game. All right, let's try to get set in this game. So it looks like Phil has a narrow lead, and Udayan has terrible duplicate issues, but it looks like Phil just exchanged 5. So that gives potentially Udayan a chance to counter exchange if he wants. Oh, no, he shouldn't do that. I'm sure he can just play Grove, which is pretty amazing because his name is Udayan Grover. So hopefully we see Grove be played by Grover. That looks pretty good. So my Quackle is still plowing away on that Peter position. I will show you guys what it says in just a second. Just to continue for those that are interested in that position, which I certainly am. It's almost there to figure it out. Okay, so again, this is just Quackle. It's not really clear. I will just pop up into the window. Here's the position from Peter versus Sherwin. You can see that it does want you to bingo quick. It does want you to bingo now. And in fact, it wants you to bingo with Nestler, which seems fine to create that S-hook, given that there's nothing scary about it. So the best fish it thinks is Yogin. Tied with just fishing. I mean, it looks like same percentages for fishing the N or the L. Not sure what the whammy tiles are, but yeah, for those that suspected bingoing immediately was best or close to it, it looks like that's what Quackle thinks. But again, you sort of have to sanity check Quackle anytime. All right, so we did see Grover play Grove. That's always fun when stuff like that occurs. Yeah, the reason that Relents isn't as good is that blocking the diapause lane is the key. Yeah, so you can we'll put that up again, and you can just see that by playing Nestler, you really limit the amount of plays that go down there. Nestler with that R blocking a lot of them. So Relents leaving that open exposes you to counter bingos that because you're not scoring that much, even though you're playing on the triple, you're still going to lose the game due to the scores being what they are. So that was pretty interesting. Okay. So that was a important win for the UK. And here we're seeing, so that was the #1 seed on UK's team, Peter Andronowski. And we are now watching the #2 seed, Phil Robertshaw, trying to hold on as best he can and secure another win for the UK here. So Udayan plays Overrun. That gets him within 2 points. It does open the O in the triple lane, but oh yeah, Overrude. That would have been potentially a little bit better, especially because he happened to catch Phil with a rack that doesn't do anything to the triple lane through the O. There's like nothing helpful that plays with all of his 1-point tiles. This is actually a tough call here for Phil on what to do. I might favor him playing something like Toluide actually in the same spot that Overrude plays, because you're not scoring much in any event and you really want to get that second blank. So okay, Outlier is sort of a variation of that. That's actually the same tiles. Oh, Toluo through the O, that would have been better. Scoring nicely and blocking that O. All right, but Udayan's drawn the blank, so I think that's going to be tough luck to Phil. I'm sure there has to be something here. Is there through the awaiters? I mean, I only see like awaiters. Is that possibly all? There must be something better. Maybe not. But either way, I would expect Udayan to find. Oh, rad waste. Okay, there we go. Rad waste is what you're looking for, I guess, unless there's something through the O. I think we have that bot capability if we want to just ruin it for ourselves. AAORSTW. No results through the O. Okay, so rad waste was suggested, and we did like that. So basically, Phil with the bag empty would have needed to have drawn something here. So it looks like Udayan is going to sneak ahead. So Phil was in control of the game. Well, not really. It was too close to consider him to have been in control, but he had a narrow lead, and Udayan pulled the second blank and is going to come out ahead in this game. Yeah, yielding blocked. That's tough. So obviously that's funny because I'm sure Udayan would have wanted to play through the O if he could have for more points. Maybe he would still play through the E just because the E is easier to bingo through. That would have been a Galaxy Brain type play to play through the E, even if you had a much higher scoring play through the O, just to prevent the out bingos like yielding. But instead, he didn't have any bingos through the O. Played his best move, and he's going to win. All right, looks like a bunch of other games are in progress and or finishing. Let's just see what's happening. Thanks for the follow, LCO fan. Appreciate that. What else is new? Aditya is winning another game. It looks like he's in good shape here. He's on turn. He's going to play Flax or Falx to the triple to go up by over 100 over Femi. And there you see it. We have O-Create. Well, actually, we could just stick with this for a second. Hold on a sec. This is Aditya versus Femi. We could see if Femi draws well enough to make a game out of this. I do have to get all the results together, and we'll see. And who is that? There. Okay. So those scores are correct. All right, let me get some of the matchups done, and we'll get the poll up for round 5 to see who. Hopefully, it's not decided. That's my only hope. So we saw that game come in here. I'll just let you guys see what's going on. We'll cut away from this as Aditya decides. He's probably going to decide really quickly. So let me get that poll off. And I'll let people start voting for who they'd like to see in round 5. Again, hopefully it's a meaningful game. So just type in the chat 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Look down at the round 5 to see the matchups. They're also up on the poll. Whichever you want to see, vote for it. All right, so Paul, it looks like Nakul defeated Paul, so that is going to be tough sledding for. And this game is close, but what happened with Akshay? Okay, James with a huge win against Akshay. That's really important for UK, I think, to preserve winning chances. So basically, yeah, good choices here. This, I think, round 5 consists primarily of seeds versus their same seed on the other team. So it's the one matchup is the top seed versus the top seed. All right, very good. The poll is very, very conclusive, so we don't have to worry about that. So for sure, we're going to be doing Peter versus Akshay in game 5. So, all right, so this is the only outstanding game so far, Femi versus Aditya, and it looks like the score right now in this game is 8-11. I'll put the poll back while I adjust that. So this would be a really, really helpful game for Femi to figure out a way to win, but it seems difficult to imagine how he's going to pull it off. Right now, the score is 8-11. So even if India wins this game, which they are certainly big favorites to do, that's a nice play of Zobo. I mean, Aditya is still up 6 on turn, so I think his chances are still pretty good here. But okay, so just workshopping what's going to happen depending on. So if India wins, there is still the opportunity for the UK to go 5-0 in the final round to snatch victory away. But if the UK comes away with this and Femi finds a way to win, that opens up a 4-1 win possibility for the UK, which is decidedly more achievable. Yeah, it is a little jargony. Sorry, folks. I can use regular words. I like using utilize instead of use. No, just kidding. It's actually a big pet peeve of mine, people that use utilize too much when they just mean use. So I'm sorry that I fell into that myself. So yeah, tricky situation here just because Aditya has low point tiles and he can reasonably expect Femi to have something high scoring somewhere. But I think the S's should probably get him over the line wherever he opts to play them. Just looking around to see what he might do. Yeah, I think he needs to just use as many tiles as he can here, wherever that may be. It would be nice to get a solid amount of points too while you're at it. How about this, right? Etnas. I think I like Etnas as a play because you should, even with a consonant draw, be able to go out with pretty much every draw. It also scores really well. So that looks nice to me. There are some drawbacks to it. I guess it might yield some kind of counterplay with, like, you know, it could give like Hew back, HEW, makes the H hit pretty hard. Can you still win after that? Maybe. We'll see. But this game is, oh, does the W potentially not go out? I mean, everything after that play, everything goes out here, but it always gets blocked. So, oh wait, no, the W, oh right. How can you guarantee that, yeah, Foon is not a word. So maybe the W is a loser after Etnas. Can we do better than that? Because the nice thing about it is that it scores a ton. All right, well, Aditya drew the E. So that should do it. I think maybe Etna's, barring some other play that's an 100% win, that definitely looks like it wins a lot. So I will not jump to conclusions too much here, but I think that's probably going to be another win for India. So I think now the UK is in need of a 5-0 round in the finals, in round 5, I should say, in order to come out on top here. So every single round so far has been a 3-2 win for India. That's consistency. You gotta love that. So we'll just stay tuned into this, and as soon as I think it's pretty clear that, oh, let me update the flags. There we go. That Aditya is going to win. So okay. Peter and Akshay have started. Let's tune into this. Okay, so at the very least, this should be an interesting game, and basically it's do or die now for the UK. They've got to win every game. Because I am guessing, and I will update the score to suggest this, that it's going to be another 3-2 win. So again, in these matches between both teams. We play 5 rounds of 5 games apiece for a total of 25 games, and the first team to reach the 13 game threshold is the winner. So India is right on the brink. If they win even one more game, that's going to be it. They will win the match with the UK and move to 2-0. And that will certainly put them in really good shape and probably be roughly clinching for them to make the bracket portion of this event. So let me see. Akshay exchanged. I actually wasn't even aware of what he exchanged. And with this rack, I'm sure there were some 8s, at least through an E. Where's Brenjam when you need him? To report on what the 8s were. That's his ISC name. Yeah, so just quickly while we wait for Peter to make his first move, which based on last game should not take that long. He seems to be a very, very fast player. You can see this matchup right here. UK is down into a very dire situation. They're already 0-1, and they need to win all 5 games in the final round of their matchup with India to avoid dropping to 0-2. So here are the standings so far. I think we only have one more match. Actually, if you see, there's the week 1 results. But here we are pretty deep into this weekend's broadcast schedule. We are the 7th out of the 8th match being played right now between the UK and India, and only Nigeria and South Africa remains this week. All right, we see Chide go down for Peter. I guess that's okay. I might have preferred to see Chip there. I'm not sure why Chide over Chip. I guess 6 more points. But keeping DES over PS seems like a pretty significant improvement towards bingoing. So maybe slight inaccuracy there, if anything, and Chi gets played instantly, as it ought to be. That's definitely correct. I guess there was a possibility that Cat would also have played a top Chide, but Chi leaving the incredibly strong leave of tails is definitely the way to go there. So there is, I think, one of these Collins words of the JE variety, right? I won't out the people in the chat that were responsible for this play. Well, I don't know about responsible. Yeah, that was the play I saw. Lapg. I've seen a couple other words ending in JE hit the board recently that were not valid, but this is valid. Okay, this is going to be a huge double-double immediately, and that's a very Twitch-like word. Hope everybody's enjoying that word to be played. It would, so from Peter's perspective, it really sucks to get hit with that word. It sucks a lot. Don't clip that, please. That was intentional, though. That pun. Yes, but it can't suck too hard because he's got a really nice bingo rack. He's going to counter with something really good. Whatever that is, I don't know. Wow, I'm getting tomatoes thrown at me by my own chat for that one. Come on, man. Yeah, I do jokingly say that. I had seen immersion and episemen to this E, I should say. 80. I bet that maybe there's something better. Maybe not. That seems pretty reasonable. Yeah, I heard it. I heard it coming. Oh God. I'm just digging myself a deeper hole. I was going to say I heard it coming out of my mouth. We are bringing you really top-notch Scrabble coverage here, folks. I'm not going to let the haters and trolls bring me down with all this dirty talk. Exchange P. Exchange P on that Chide play? Wow, that's amazing. Chides is pretty strong. I don't know what Akshay did. Did he exchange like 1 or something? That would certainly make me more apt to exchange P. Enemies with 5. Oh yes, enemies right here. That would be nice. 79. That's probably significantly better positionally than playing down from the E of Chide. Just for the record, here. Oh, I have to go to this screen. It's not really ready yet. Oh, also this is a game between the number 1 seeds. And it's also reversed. Okay, there we go. This is now correct. So now I get my Quackle up, and you can see that Somniate is also available through the, let me get enemies off the board so you can see. It would go right here. That would be pretty nice. It scores 84 with all those overlaps. It only, I mean, I guess it does give the Somniated hooks back, but it doesn't give too much back. Yeah, I can hit list in the commands. I have to resize that window so it looks better. I basically made an executive decision that I didn't really like the look of the ISC chat window, so I have it up during my Quackle when we're quackling moves, but I don't like it on the UI otherwise. I like it cleaner. Okay, immersion is played. That seems fine, barring some of the, I mean, it's all right. I think the parallel play, wow, Vergers goes down instantly. That had to have been best. So Peter took a long time to figure out what he wanted to play, and sure enough, it gave the E. Well, there already was an E, so the only way that would have been avoidable, I guess, would have been a play like Anomies, which was pointed out. So potentially not putting that E on the board was a game changer there. So I wonder if that's just positionally better in that situation. It seems like it is to me, to not make all of those through tiles to play with. Acerbity pointed out, that looks really nice. Right there, 30 points. Pretty good. Akshay is winning, so basically a play like Acerbity looks a lot better than something like this, which is a good equity play, but opens the board somewhat needlessly. We just learned the lesson about putting an E out into space being a needless risk. I guess you could play Lita here as well for 36 if you want to. There's definitely plenty of options here for Akshay that score. If he is able to come up with one that doesn't open much in response. Beatty here, that's nice. 32, that's significantly less risk. But instead he plays Lita. Hard to fault that too much. Let's just do a quick sim on that. There were a lot of choices that were really close. As we see, Zuby played instantly for 55. So looks like a pretty big gap right now between Lita and the next closest play. I guess that's a pretty good sign that it's at least not a bad play. Although the gap is narrowing, it's not enough iterations. Okay, well, Quackle wants Beatty, but we know that we shouldn't play Beatty in that way. And Acerbity is right behind. All right, so Zoo is played. Cut back to the main screen. So Biggie with another E. So basically, Akshay had a nice lead after Lita, but Zoo scored so much that he now may feel a little bit more apt to play something like Beige, as I said. But there it is again. Wow, what a lesson to learn about ease in space. Trickier, I mean, this rack. So 2 racks this game turned from junk or near junk into a bingo, thanks to putting an E out in space when you could have avoided it. There were other options on both turns that didn't put that E out into space. Yeah, biggies right here would have been pretty safe. Getting rid of both Gs, scoring not that much less. So interesting sequence. I mean, do we think we're playing a little bit of hindsight here, and that those plays were fine, except the players just got burned by them? I don't know. There is some extent to which that might be true, but I definitely think in general, if you can avoid putting the best vowel out into space in a really easy way to play to, then you probably should, if it's not a big point sacrifice. But you know, many times we do plays like that and your opponent doesn't have anything, so it's often fine. Yeah, Somniate would have, but I was thinking that Anomies would have been the play there. Yeah, Anomies in that spot, making a ton of overlaps instead of Immersion. That looks like it offers very little back that didn't already exist on the board. No through tiles. It closes a lot of stuff. Yeah, Somniate was a fair bit more. So that in that situation, that was probably a hindsight thing talking, where we're saying, oh, you know, he floated an E out in space. How could he do that? Well, he had a word that played through the E. So I see Gadji being suggested right here. That looks quite good. Let me get the Akshay number to look better. And there it comes down. Nice play. I think we like that as clearly best. There, now it looks better. So this is, yeah, no stream sniping. No stream sniping allowed. Oh, Aeration will be played now, so the action's happening quickly. We liked Gadji. I'm not even sure what happened with Boo Boo, but I can't imagine that using UUB for 26 wasn't correct, barring something much better. And then Aeration is played, and then I think, yeah, to the S of Immersion, there's going to be more bingos played. So I don't know what's happening yet, but once all the dust settles, we'll figure out exactly what is going on here. There is just no way that Peter is going to miss the bingos that he has available to the S right now. And then Dynamos is drawn, but I don't think it's going to matter that he has that word. Stefan laments no Stefan. That is a shame. Lots of great Collins only names. Oh wait, Dynamos plays with Slid, of course. Yeah, right here. So another another bingo. Yeah, sorry folks. Just trying to catch my breath, but Akshay is going to play Dynamos, and that's going to empty the bag. So we are in endgame status right now. This looks like it should absolutely be a winnable endgame, though. I'm sure that playing Dynamos was absolutely correct. I don't know if you can not do that, but I think with the rack that Peter's drawn, this looks like a sure endgame win for him. There's got to be some way to do it with that X. So there you go. I think, however he gets it done, I'm pretty sure that this will be one of the 5 necessary wins for Team UK. So actually, I'm curious now, just really quickly, I'll go to this screen and we'll just check. This game was at such a breakneck pace that we can sort of pick and choose the closest games possible. So, all right, so this was between the number 1 seeds. Let's check in on the number 2 seeds, see how they're doing. Wow, okay, so Phil, hold on, let me get the flags right. I'll have the flags up and down. So you can see Phil is doing his part. Looks like he's all over Sherwin in this game. Let's check in on the number 3s. Extremely close game. It looks like Paul has just played Curatrix. So this game might be one to watch and see if Paul can pull it out. Let's look at the number 4 seeds. Femi with a narrow lead, and he is on turn. Let me get these. Okay, so basically this one is maybe slightly leaning UK, especially after he plays through the S of Berlin's. And let's look at the number 5 seeds. Narrow lead for James Curley over Aditya Iyengar. Let me get that. Those the flags are right again. Okay, let's just go back to the original game and just see how this one ends up. I mean, it should be pretty cut and dried for Peter to come up with an endgame win here. So yeah, we've seen Exxons pointed out. Let's see. I just asked Quackle what to do here, and sure enough, it points Exxons out as well. Axone, Oxo. We just know. We know he's going to find one of these. So I don't feel this is particularly suspenseful. So the number 2 seeds was a blowout in favor of the UK. So let's go to Paul Allen, who has already been on stream a lot, but this game looks like it's the most touch and go. So let me get the names correct, and let me get the score to look right. And it's supposed to be there. Okay, so we'll stay tapped into this game for a little bit, and let's get the Quackle stuff out. So the UK is making a pretty serious push to actually pull it off here. We know that barring something insane, Peter Andronowski is going to beat Akshay Bandarkar, and we know that barring something insane, Phil Robertshaw is going to beat Sherwin Rodriguez. So there's 2 in the hopper. They need all 5, including this game between Udayan Grover and Paul Allen. So Udayan has the second blank. The first was played by Paul. Clearly a nice play of Curatrix. Hard to imagine there was anything much better with CUX on that rack. I'm not seeing anything available here for Udayan through the U. So he'll have to dump something and try again next turn to get a bingo down. Oh, also this is round 5, not 4. I apologize. This is the climactic round 5. So thanks to all who are along watching coverage of this event. And yeah, this is coming right down to the wire. This would be a pretty epic stand for the UK to come up with a 5-0 win in round 5. You can see, again, these matches are 25-game matches, 5 rounds of 5 games per round. So 13 is the magic number. The score coming into this round, UK 8, India 12. So literally a single win for India would clinch it, and the UK needs all 5 rounds to come out ahead. And if you were here watching and looking at the pool play standings earlier, you know that the UK lost their first week matchup to Thailand. So this is really do or die in many ways. They got to win all 5 to win this match, and they got to win this match to preserve their chances of making the bracket of 8. Okay. Udayan plays Pung. He doesn't have a bingo, and that seems reasonable. Paul can easily just dump his J right here if he wants. It scores really well, and he keeps a nice sleeve of ADET. That's going to pair pretty well with this S. So that is played, but I have to imagine that there is something available here. Tolman does not fit. Is there really nothing to the S? Stallion does not fit. Wow, so nothing plays with this rack to the S of torsions. So it'll have to come up with something else if there is anything available. That would be quite the troll if there were no playable bingos here. I'm not seeing it yet. Happy to be proven wrong in the chat. I don't have Quackle going for these. Oh yeah, Honda words. That's right. Is there anything with Honda? Oh, the only 7s in this are Tonally and Tolman. So this is one of those racks that is a major danger to anybody that has them. So Udayan in this situation, unless I'm not seeing it, there are no playable bingos with this rack. There's nothing to the S of torsions, and there's nothing with Honda. And yeah, as WTF says in the chat, the danger of this rack is that you think to yourself correctly, because most of the time it's true, how could there not be a playable bingo with this rack? He's already 3 minutes, roughly 3 minutes down on time compared to Paul, and he is going to be apt to spend another chunk of time here. When in reality, the best thing that he could do is play something like, I don't know, anything under the J. LOL. Yeah, I don't know how LOLZ is a word, but not LOL. But anything in that spot, even if it keeps both L's, is probably fine. It scores really well. So just ton, T-O-N, right? That's fine. 27 points and move on. Keep your A for Honda. That's definitely correct. And the faster he can get to that point, the better. But how can you not look through the S of torsions and through all the sevens with Honda? So really this, from our perspective, we're sitting here and we're just saying, oh my God, he has to somehow realize that there are no bingos here as fast as he can. But in the actual game situation, it is very difficult to get to that spot without sinking some time. Okay, and he has, to his credit, he didn't actually use up that much time there. So that's pretty good. He played all. I think Dak and Zek is going to go down instantaneously, I would think. That looks clearly best. It scores a ton, and oh, Gak, that's better. Yeah, sorry, that's correct. Gak is better. All right, so now we will see a bingo, but the question is, has Paul drawn one in response? That's the key. The key for all UK stands in the chat right now is Paul's fought his way back to a narrow lead. Udayan's going to bingo here for sure, but can Paul respond really quickly with a bingo of his own and keep the lead? Or is he going to be in arrears still? So, yes, Cesar, this G love, 14 Domino, not trying to dox you, dox a word on this board. Although you are using your emote, so I feel like it's hard to dox somebody on Twitter that has an emote of their own face, I would think. But yeah, lover of the G, Cesar himself. He is a G, as they say. But yeah, Gak definitely looks better there. No offense to G lovers. I'm actually surprised now that this is taking so long to play. I guess he's trying to avoid unnecessarily making easy scoring spots for Paul, but again, time really is of the essence. Oh, maybe he's, you know what? He's probably looking for overlaps here. I'm not sure if any exist, but that seems like a reasonable goal. And it seems like a very overlappy area, so it's definitely possible. Is there anything there? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not, but again, it's hard not to look. Wow, interesting. Okay, so that's it. That's an interesting choice. So he opts to play pluralizing Waqf. That looks kind of smart, actually, as I think about it, because that is definitely a more hittable, like if Paul had the S, that is way more hittable than this spot is. You know, there's plenty of things that you could draw that do not start with a vowel and therefore don't play to the triple lane on the bottom. So maybe a Tony's is the best way to prevent Paul from bingoing back. Suggestion of Ed, EDH, right here. You just go all in on this move. I don't know about that. That makes me uneasy. That makes me uneasy. Like, why not? Oh, hended. Is that a word? Hended? I don't, my immediate thought is I don't like it, but okay, yeah, hend is hent. Okay, good play then. Scoring 36 and making a lane that needs to be addressed while keeping that S open, right? So this S is going to continue to stay open as long as these areas are more enticing for point scoring. So got a tip that James's game coming to an exciting finale. This game actually has 27 tiles left. How many tiles left in this? 10. With James having a blank. Wow. He plays Sistvane. That's huge. Rallying is available on Aditya's rack. Sorry, let me go back to this so we're not messing with the flags and stuff and the titles. Is it not defining? It defined it just above. I don't know why Cesar's request didn't process. I do not have you blocked. Oh, there. Okay, it just lagged a little. No problem. Wow. Okay, so that was pretty huge. That was huge. James bingoed. Is he going to draw the Q and the U together? That's the key. This is very, very interesting. If he draws the Q and U together, I mean, basically he's fine regardless, actually. He doesn't have to worry about anything except an Aditya bingo here. I don't think the Q sticks are in play at all. Yeah, he has 8 minutes to think about this, and I expect him to think pretty hard about it. So let's cut back to our other game and see what's happening here. Because this is roughly equally as touch and go. Okay, so Ailing, we can see that Udayan played Ailing. Paul responded with Fet, and Udayan drew terribly. That rack was absolutely awful. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Huge. Oh, maybe I don't have the UK thing right. Hold on. Yeah, you can query all the rosters at any time by typing in the country code that you see on the screen underneath round 5. Wow. Smatter goes down for Paul. This is insane. This is amazing. What's happening in this other match? Okay, Femi defeated Nakul. So basically, it's happening. It is happening, folks. This is pretty insane. So right now, we know that of the. Let's just cut to this really quickly. This needed to be all 5 for the UK. Peter beat Akshay, Phil beat Sherwin, and Femi beat Nakul. There's 3. So this Paul versus Udayan game and the James versus Aditya game are absolutely key. India has to pick up one of those 2 games. All right, let's see here. So this is looking really bad. So hold on. I will change the scores to reflect this. It's actually now 11-12. All right. Biometry is going to end it. Oh my God. Paul should find that with relative ease, and that ends it. I would be amazed if he didn't spot biometry, and that is going to be it. And then it's all up to James to just hold on to his 60 or 70 point lead against Aditya, which I think he should be able to do. It's a little worrisome that we haven't seen it be played right away. What's, yeah, he doesn't really even need it to win. All right. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Okay, so just for the time being, I just want to check. I don't want to miss too much about this game too. Okay, so in this game, wow. All right, we will have to figure out what's happening in the other game as best we can. But it looks like Aditya plays all on the bottom of the board. James plays Squid. And is that going to do it for him? Does Aditya not have anything through the L he just created? That looks like a good idea to create another threat. Yeah, there's nothing. I just want to make absolutely sure. I mean, I mostly trust myself in that area, but it looks like James is going to hold on. So let's see what happened in this game. Back to Paul. Excuse me. So he is still yet to find biometry, and it looks like James is going to hold on to win his game. So this is basically it. Yeah, this is a Bingy Sanders epic slow roll status if Paul is seeing biometry, but he's just chilling here. Okay, he plays Moby, doesn't see biometry. It doesn't look like it's going to matter that much, is it? Yeah, that is a tough one. I don't think there's really anything helpful to the M here for Udayan. It's just too much of a deficit now after Smatter. Oh my god, that is incredible. Seriously. That is improbable. I don't know what the chances were of the UK staving off elimination in not only in this match. Okay, tourism. I'm sure Paul is going to find and play tourism and end the game, I would think. That looks like a pretty obvious place to look and see. And there it is. Paul clinches that game. He's won. Let's just cut back to this game and just see how it ends up. So this is the game between the 5 seeds. I will try to get it to look correct. It's actually James on top. And again, I will get the transform to look correct. There. Okay, so here we have this. And basically, it's down to Aditya probably realizing that he needs to bingo, and there just isn't one available. So again, the score is currently 12-12, and it looks like the UK is going to pull off the remarkable 5-0 comeback in the last round to squeak ahead. And win the match 13-12, which again, if you look at this, these standings are current right now. Obviously the UK on the cusp of winning this match, but had they won, that was going to be it. So this is pool play. We're 2 weeks in. There's only one more match this week to finish the week of play. So, and that is between Nigeria and South Africa. You see in Group B, the 2 teams that are 0-1. So with this win that UK, this thrilling win that UK is about to secure, they're going to move to 1-1, and India drops to 1-1, and everything is completely wide open in that group going into next week. Quite amazing. So we'll just cut back to this and see how it wraps up. Oh, I have it correct here. Wow. We'll just wait for this. I don't know if Aditya is just going to use all his remaining time. That seems pretty reasonable. You need to bingo, and your team is counting on you to figure out a way to bingo, but I don't think there is any. So like I said, I don't know what the odds were of a 5-0 win for the UK in the last round here, but that is some serious moxie on their part to come up with a stand that preserves their chances of making the round of 8. Quite amazing. This is a stark contrast to the other game that I did yesterday, the other match that I did yesterday, I should say, which was between Singapore and Ghana, where Singapore absolutely put a hurt onto Ghana, really avenging their tough loss to in the first week. You can see Singapore losing to Kenya in week 1, and if we just cut back to the results of week 2 again, it says Ireland in progress versus the Philippines, but we know better that the Philippines actually defeated Ireland today, which very surprising. You cut to week 1's results. And you can see the U.S. defeated the Philippines 18-7, but the Philippines, undaunted. You see Ireland was the second team behind the U.S. in individual wins in week 1, But this week it didn't matter as they came up with a really huge win against Ireland to keep their chances alive in Group D. So yeah, those are the results in chronological order from this week. Singapore 21, Ghana 4. That is likely to be the record in this tournament for individual wins. Really impressive. But I am amazed. I am amazed at the UK pulling off the 5-0 in the last round when they absolutely needed it to win this match. So Aditya continues to use his time. Again, we are in the luxurious position of knowing that there just isn't anything available to him. But in his shoes, it would be absolutely crushing to play something early and then realize you missed something. So you have that time for a reason. You got to use it. Yeah, also thank you to Jeremy Koo for the raid earlier. And obviously it seemed like both streams were thriving during the period of time that both of us were streaming. We made the choice organizationally to cover as many of the matches as we possibly could. This week, I think we got more or less to 100% coverage, although Ed's internet, Oglehat, his channel, wasn't cooperative. But basically, even when matches overlap on time, we're going to do our best to cover them all. So thank you, everybody, for supporting us both. And thanks to Jeremy for covering that match. And yeah, so the raid, what is a raid? It's very, a raid is sort of a, oh, what happened? I need to re-observe this game, I guess. I'm not really sure. My ISC is wigging out a little bit with the timers. I have no idea why it shows Aditya being overtime and having 7 minutes left. Why don't I reconnect? Okay, that's a little bit, well, he finally made his move and now he's down to 30 seconds. Yeah, raid is simply something you do when you are done with your broadcast and want to kind of funnel everybody to another broadcast. There is no broadcast right now, but thank you to Zanjero Luxac for the follow. I think that is one of the strong Singaporean players. Nice to have you along. So basically, let's make it official. Let us make it official. We'll get the polls out of here. Absolutely amazing comeback for the UK. You see it right there. Round 5, a clean sweep. That's pretty remarkable. 5 wins for the UK when they absolutely needed it. And let me make sure that the score reflects that. UK sneaking ahead 13-12. I would raid Coco Scrabble if are they live though? I think they start their next stream in a little while. So if anybody has any suggestions of a channel for me to raid, I would be happy to do that. But yeah, yikes, that's tough for India. That's an amazing comeback for Team UK. Let me get the broadcast schedule up again. So you can see GMT, Nigeria versus South Africa, the last match of the week. That is going to be taking place in about an hour and 15 minutes on twitch.tv/Coco Scrabble. If we go back to pool play, you will see that India is still at 1-1. So pretty much all of these teams still have great chances. Basically, in next week, all that both of the teams that we saw today have to do is win their matchup next week, and they're in to the bracket. So you can see, I just edited it. It's all 1-1, and I'm not sure which teams. Why don't I get hold on a second. Let me just see if I can get the schedule for next week, which I do not have at the ready, but I will get it so that we can see who's playing who next week. All right, there it is. Let me blow this up nice and big. So here is the week 3 schedule for next week. We don't have times set, but you can see that the UK will play Malaysia and India will play Thailand. So whichever of those two teams wins their match, they will advance to the bracket of 8. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know if any teams are officially eliminated yet. Actually, there's definitely. Yeah, I'm so sorry that I cursed India with by accidentally putting them in as 1-1. I wish I could manifest reality like that. Here, let's try this. Oops. Oh no, my hand slipped. $1,000 to no for the US. No, just kidding. Just 2-0. So yeah, a lot of great matchups next week. The Coco schedulers have set it up so that all the number 1 seeds play the number 2 seeds. So there's a lot of really strong matchups there between the 1s and the 2s. So 4 of those that you see: the UK, Malaysia, Australia, Nigeria, Singapore, Canada, and the US versus Ireland. Those are the 1 seeds versus the 2 seeds, and then India versus Thailand, Pakistan versus South Africa, Ghana versus Kenya, New Zealand versus the Philippines. Those are the 3 seeds versus the 4 seeds. So anyway, yeah, there may be some teams that either need an unbelievable amount of help or are basically out. So anyway, just to recap, amazing comeback victory by the UK over India. Commiserations to India. A lot of really, really great. Yeah, Weibin, absolutely. Feel free to share. Great Discord for all that want to follow all things Scrabble streaming, and a lot of other cool functionality besides. And Weibin just churning out awesome Scrabble tools lately. The tournament stats kit is also pretty amazing. So yeah, that was pretty epic. We do have one more match to round out week 2 coming up in right about an hour. So in the absence of a good candidate, obviously I don't want to think too hard about who to raid. We've got a great audience here. I really thank everybody for watching along with this great matchup. That's going to do it for my coverage today. But again, a little bit more than an hour. Nigeria versus South Africa, another really exciting matchup. So, all right, folks, I think I'm going to sign off now, but hopefully see most of you guys at twitch.tv/Coco Scrabble in a little bit more than an hour. Thanks for watching, everybody. Catch you later.